Hi, folks.
Still running.
Welcome to another Wednesday night beat chat with Tom and myself. Let's see who we have already in the room with us. Hi, Kimberly, another sheepkeeper. Misbehaving Mark. Mike. Sorry, Mike. Hi, Mike. Randy. Randy came in early here. And Tom, of course.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm a little busy right now because it sounds like my channel is still running,
Huh.
but I never started it. I deleted it. That's weird. I have to just find a way I can delete it.
Yeah, you'd have to go into StreamYard.
I deleted it from StreamYard.
I am northeast of Philadelphia. I'm in Pennsylvania, the southeast section of Pennsylvania, north of Philadelphia. Just end it. Yeah, but you didn't go live, Tom, did you?
I
You
did
didn't go
no, and
live.
I deleted it, but I don't have a way to delete it. It's in my playlist. Let me do. That's weird. Says it's
Yeah,
upcoming.
you have to find so we can't just end it on YouTube. So we go in, we actually when we're hosting these, we're running them through StreamYard, which is a
StreamYard.
different platform, and then it broadcasts out to YouTube. So we can't just we don't control anything on these chats through YouTube when we're on them. The participants, you guys are all on YouTube, but we're on a different platform. So, Tom, you're going to have to sign off of here, I believe, and go into your StreamYard and end it because you're not
I
probably.
don't. It doesn't exist in my StreamYard anymore. I already checked that.
Hi, Bundy. Thanks for coming in. We have a storm rolling in over here. I'm watching it turn funny shades of blue and gray. I look like a ghost. My face is so white. I don't know how to turn these lights on or it's going to be any better. But I feel like a Casper.
Yeah, it says I have no streams or recordings. That's
They're
so
watching the
weird.
one from last night. Oh, upcoming. Here you go, Tom. I'm seeing it. It says upcoming. One waiting. No Mites production. Yeah, it's here. 1900. I see it.
I see it in my YouTube, but I
So
can't delete it.
go to the three drop downs. Or no. So Tom, go up here into your go up to see your picture in the upper right.
Yeah,
Click on that. And then view your channel.
yep,
Click on that.
yep, and I see it.
And you went into
But,
so it's deleted in StreamYard, you said.
but not in YouTube, and I can't delete it.
But you deleted it on StreamYard.
Yes.
Hi, Brian from Colorado. Well, then don't worry about it. You didn't hit go live. It's not running, it's just there. And
It's
StreamYard
just
will
there.
refresh.
It's in YouTube, but
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
StreamYard will refresh and it'll go away. But it's not
shit.
running. You didn't hit the go live button. So
Right.
anyway, let's talk to our guests. Hi
Yes.
Brian, what'd you
Hey,
do
Brian.
today in your yard?
What did I
You
do?
never started the live, Mike. You never started the live. But
Yeah.
okay. So, Brian, what did you do in your yard today? Did you do anything in Colorado? I'm just trying to move away from this conversation of Tom's live. No, but the chat's live.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know. He's watching the one from last night. Am I in the
No,
pic,
it's there.
Mike? Am I in the picture?
No, this is a different one. I mean, this is the one I was going to do.
Yeah,
I can't.
and you didn't push the live button. So, I
I
don't know.
never create. Yeah, it's weird. Edit video.
I'm not successfully navigating us away from this conversation. Yes, both of you are in the picture. Yeah. So he's not okay. So he's not live. He can't be live because he's on this channel. Can't do both. Um
It,
for right now, unless
gone.
we
It's gone.
click some buttons. Yeah, I think StreamYard needed to refresh. All right, Brian. Cherry picking frames to pull, spinning tonight, making lotion bars. Oh, cool. Okay.
Wow, that's busy. That's a busy evening.
We're going to Utah next week, so I'm setting up supers at the end of the flow while we're gone. Oh, right. Okay. Working ahead. Are you going to Utah on business or are you going for pleasure? But I mean, we're beekeepers. Is there a separation? I kind of think there's not.
Oh
Three
crap!
honey favorite we got 300. I did 100 last week, which wasn't much. I mean, you can zip through them pretty quick, but
That's wrong camera.
I'm gonna. Okay. Hi,
Okay.
Mike.
Hey,
So, what did
Mike.
I do in my yard today? So I had my mentee over again. We had come across yesterday. So we're going out in the yard at like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and then working until 9, 10, something like that before the heat kicks in. So yesterday we came across, it was a two deep. I run 8 frames. It was a two deep. We had put on a medium for them to move honey into, and then I had an excluder, and then I had so we managed this colony above the brood nest yesterday. While we were there, I had pulled one of the frames out of the brood nest just to look, just to say hello. And we found a charged queen cup. We weren't in the position to continue into that colony. So we closed it up, we put the medium on for them to overwinter stores. We put a queen excluder and then we put a super on top. That's how it was before. So I said we have to get in there because I'm not sure what's going on with that charged queen cell. Something doesn't seem right. So today we went in. and went through the first deep, which would be box number 2. And there was a lot of capped honey, a lot of uncapped honey. It was just full. And we also found a small patch of about 6-day-old larvae. And yesterday I had found an egg. So I knew there was a laying queen in there. Whether they liked her or not was yet to be seen. So we went into the bottom box and we found eggs, larvae, up to 6. So she only started laying 6 days ago. We found her, pulled her out. I clipped her and marked her, build the colony back up. But I didn't want to put that super on because I'm really not getting a flow here. I didn't get a flow. I mean, I got a lot of honey in the colonies, but they need to keep that because of the drought last year and the feeding I had to do. I can't do that again. So I'm just letting them load up. So they have a deep full of honey on them, plus an empty medium above. So my thought is, and if anybody has any ideas on this, or if this is, so you always hear they're going to move honey up. So my one question is, do you think they're going to take that honey off of box number 2 and move it up into that medium to create places for this new queen to lay? Second question is far more complicated, and I haven't ever really heard. I heard a little bit of talk about this before, but do they move eggs? That's the second question I have. First question is kind of simple. Do you think they'll move that honey from that second deep up into that super, which they're going to keep for winter? And is there any research? Are there any papers? Does anybody talk about them moving eggs?
To answer your first question, Nancy,
Yeah.
if she's a good queen and they think she's a good queen, they'll make room for her. So yes, they'll move the honey to the outside, up in the corners, and up into the top box.
Yeah.
Second question, I have read or I watched Bob Beanie's or somebody's YouTube, I can't remember, a couple of years ago, and that person said yes, they do move eggs, especially when they go to make swarm cells. They were talking about swarm cells, and they were talking about some eggs are more of her genetics, and some eggs are more of the drone genetics. And the
Well,
bees
I know that
know
they
that.
can. Yeah, I know that they call out, like, so say she mates with a drone that's too close genetics to the queen. Like say they mess up and she mates with a drone that's too close, they can cannibalize that egg. They can take those pheromones from that too close genetics and get rid of it. So that tells
Right.
me they know whether it's a drone or whether it's a fertilized or unfertilized egg.
Well, I think they even know that there's some eggs are more queen able eggs versus worker bee eggs. The last thing I read just not too long ago that they actually think bees can distinguish that not all eggs are created equal once a queen lays them. I asked that
Right.
question when you graft, though, does that make a difference on what larvae you graft? So it's like, but they both these articles that I remember watching and reading both said they will move Pacific eggs for swarming.
So you know the queen measures the cell and lays it, or fertilized or unfertilized. She measures it with her front legs,
Yes,
and then she lays a fertilized or unfertilized. So we know that to be true, correct? Like that's true.
right.
So if they move eggs, they have to be able to tell whether it's a fertilized or unfertilized egg. They'd have to be able to sense that. There has to be
Right,
some pheromone coming off that egg, right?
right, right. Yeah.
So
So
then the other thing is, does she lay in? Yeah, so that's interesting. So if there was an egg, there was a queen cell with an egg in it on a frame of honey. She didn't lay anywhere else. Did they run her up there to lay in that cup?
oh no, maybe I don't know. I've seen that already, where there's just one cell on a honey frame. I think
All right,
they.
Mike, we'll come back. Mike, we'll come back to your comment here. But here I think we're still talking about, okay, I heard that they move honey or nectar at least 3 times for. Wait, okay, so I'm not sure about capped honey, but I don't think they will move it. Yeah, well, they move honey or nectar at least 3 times before it becomes honey. I'm not sure about cap. Oh, okay, I gotta follow you, Kim. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I don't know why wouldn't, just to play devil's advocate a little bit, like why wouldn't they move capped honey? I mean, they can, but will they? I guess is what.
yeah, it might be too thick at that
They'll
point.
move it. Yeah. Yeah. So probably, I mean, that's probably a lot of work. Well,
Yeah,
anyway, so when we rebuilt it for winter. We put all the capped honey on the outside of the bottom, the box number one, it's on the bottom board, and box number two, those two deeps. We put all the capped honey on the outside. And then some of the uncapped in the second box moving inside. So the uncapped stuff, I'm hoping we have a better chance of them running up. The capped is on the outside, so that's okay. That's already their insulation for winter. So, but I'd really like to have someone who knows about eggs. Like, who have we heard talk at any of the conferences or the clubs that really is like the top notch person on egg laying? Queens.
can't think of anybody that even talked on that subject. So I just read an article. Man, it was just 2 weeks ago about.
Wonder what it where do you don't remember where, or was it in a magazine? Was it on the online? Was it
It was an article on my phone from. It was from when the bee. It was from the Bee Journal, from the magazine
oh
online.
ABJ?
Yeah,
ABJ?
I think it was, and they were talking about not all eggs, not all worker bee slash queen eggs are the same.
Right.
Per the genetics DNA in those eggs. And that article was saying they believe that the bees can detect between eggs which is a better egg to make a queen from.
Yeah, what makes an egg better? Like,
Don't
you
this
know,
article this article got it was too complicated. It was too technical for me, which is kind of
for
I mean I
you.
I'd have to reread it again, but they had a lot of technical terms and I'd have to look up what they meant.
Yeah.
Definition.
Can you find that on the computer now that you're sitting in front of it? And then go to present and present the page, just so
Yeah, I'll
we can
see
maybe
if I
get
can
a,
find it.
yeah, see if you can find it. So Mike here, I got in my split 7 queen cell, open 5, got queen and left. Open. I don't understand that, Mike. Got in my split 7 queen cells, 5. Oh, okay, here you go. Here you go. Here's some additional 5 new queens, now made 5 nukes, left 2 cells in the
Bee
box.
culture,
New
bee
queens.
journal.
That must be a big word. That must be a big colony. Wow. Yeah, I'd like to get a couple more summer solstice queens out of my colony. Now, obviously, technically, summer solstice is a few days past, but we still call them summer solstice queens at the end of summer. So I'd really like to get another 2 or 3 5 frame started splits, but I don't know. I'm
Mhm.
just, with this drought last year, just really hit me so hard that I'm afraid this late, if I make them up, it's not going to rain for 6 weeks. So I don't know if I should just keep what I got. I don't even know how many colonies I have out there. Let me count them quick. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I get 21 down there now. And 3 of them are going to my mentee. Yeah, you know what? I really like to overwinter 20. If I can get down to 15 or 10, that's even sweeter yet. But 20 is my sweet spot for overwintering and going into doing my mite treatments, my OA, because I hit them every 3 days. So 20 is a real nice spot for me to be in. If I'm at 21 now, that's dropped me down to 18. I think that's a nice number. You know what? I think I just talked myself out of doing those splits.
No, see, I just counted my head. I got 48, 9, I got 50 hives right now. And 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 of them are in the process of new queens. And
Oh,
3 of their 16s have a new queen because I checked them today. But
she
3 of them
laying?
didn't. 3 of
Is
them
she
were
laying
laying,
or
and well, one of them, I only checked them on day 10, and 3 of my 6 that I made splits the first time had queens in them, mated queens. And one was
laying?
laying, but they were
Mm.
just starting to lay. 3 of them I don't know yet because I checked them a little early.
Can everybody see the sign in on YouTube? Does anybody wants to come in? Any faces we haven't met yet? That'd be nice. So then, is it on the top there? I think I pinned it. Oh, it's
And you
starting
got
to
it,
rain now.
you got it pinned.
I do?
Yeah, it's pinned. I checked.
Cool. All right.
There's only Brian, and he's busy. Typically gets on.
Yeah, I haven't seen Brian in a while. I'm not on every chat all the time. So, I mean, it seems like it, but I'm not. I didn't come on yours, Tom, last night at all. I
No,
didn't
but
Yeah, I didn't come in that at all. I just wasn't expecting you to be on or whatever. I mean, I don't know. And then Sunday nights I can never get on Sunday nights. It's kind of date night for us. And my
yeah,
husband put up with enough of this bee shenanigans as it is. So um and then Saturdays I'm usually wore out from market. So I don't stay on very long with Joey's. But
Saturday's usually busy. Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to
no,
go
Bundy,
on.
Bob's not coming on. I'd be surprised if he actually comes back on a regular basis.
Yeah, so I
But
might just stay on Tuesdays.
you just stay on Tuesdays. If he
Yeah,
like, I mean, you can't go away for 6 months and then just think you're gonna pop back on. I mean, I hate to say it, but
I
you
mean,
know,
pop in one time. It's like,
whatever it is what it is, you know? I mean, that's up to you, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. Um, anyway, uh, so I wanted to talk a little bit too. I think we got about 16 people on now, I guess, but a little bit about we're getting into the season where the queens are going to start shutting down. They're going to Pencil Tucky. Hey, Pencil, I heard you were on the other night. You better come on my show, Mr.
yes,
Pencil Tucky. Um, so I wanted to talk a little bit about, and we consider this an advanced B chat. Not that it has to be all the time, but um, we're not talking about first and year stuff here. We're kind of talking to a more advanced subject matter. And so anyway, this is the time we're going to go into July and August here when our queens start shutting down. They just let her rest, and it's a great time to get your mite treatments in if you're a treater. If not, that's fine too. But then you start hearing the calls, or you start seeing on Facebook the requests for queens. I don't have a queen. I don't have a queen. They're convinced they don't have a queen. So, what are some signs? What do you see in your yard? Um, Other than, I mark and clip my queen, which is one of the advantages of doing that is when they do want to shut down in July and August, I can find her quicker. But what are some things that you see in your yard that that she's shutting down? How long does she shut down for? Um, and things like that. I kind of want to talk a little bit about that tonight.
I know for mine, I look for how much room they're leaving on each frame for her to lay in. I've noticed that as the weeks go by in the fall time, seems like it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and the honey rainbow gets bigger, bigger, and bigger.
Hmm.
And the outside frames are even start backfilling a little bit and a lot by the end of the year. So
Yeah.
that's one of the signs you can look for. One thing you have to be careful about though, like right this week, we've been in the upper 90s to 101 on Tuesday, I think it was, or Monday. And I've noticed already my queen stopped laying this week or only laid a small patch
Yeah.
just because it was so hot. So I wouldn't be surprised if people start calling in the next week saying, "We don't have a queen. I don't have a queen," and because they don't see the mega frames of brood anymore.
Right. And I have some that are just getting started laying. So I sure as heck hope they don't pull them back because yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about brand new hives. If they were pulled back any brand new queens, I wouldn't think they would. But the bees might.
Let her get up
They might
to
cannibalize them. The worker bees might. So that's a good question, Nancy.
well, I know a lot of people across the terrain here. JW was talking to the other night that we just had no flow this year. There's a lot of people that didn't have a flow. So I'm
Right.
curious. I'm curious to see what our management, how we manage that and what that looks like in going into fall.
Well, Yeah, it's going to be an interesting fall.
I'm letting them keep it. I'm letting them keep pretty much everything. I mean, I got some. Don't get me wrong. I have some down there. I have two deeps, two supers on them, and they're full and they're capping them. And I mean, I'm getting some honey, but not like And the other thing too is this year is I forced mine into double deeps, so I asked a lot of them. I was
Yeah,
asking a lot, so that's part of the reason why I'm asking them to pull a second deep for me plus fill a medium, and they're doing that. So that's where my honey is for this year. That's where my flow, that's where my flow
I,
is going for this year. But
I haven't pulled my boxes yet to know how good my flow has been or how bad it's been. I try to be optimistic how good it is versus how bad it is. I do know at the beginning of the year it rained so much, the prime flow was not good, but the last 3 weeks have been really good. The problem is there's not near as much flowering. So I don't know if it
well,
caught
yeah,
up
I
a
mean,
little bit the last 3 weeks if my hives have caught up or not.
well, they're not. They got nothing. Nature's done. Like the trees are done.
Well,
I
my
mean,
bass,
ground flowers.
I got basswood trees are just finishing up now. And I got a lot of those linden basswood trees where I live. I'm lucky.
Yeah, I don't know. I got one. I got one big one down the street here. But as far as the woods and stuff behind me and the quarry, I don't know how many are over there. I don't know.
Well,
I can't walk it. Like I can't go underneath and look at them.
right. There aren't many left. I mean, they cut so many down 150 years ago. If people didn't replant them, they don't exist. You have to have old woods, and luckily, there's a spot just a half mile from me that's pretty severe sloped, and I don't think it's ever been for. I don't think anybody's ever cut trees out of it. So it's got a lot of old basswood trees in it, linden trees.
Yeah.
Kimberly just brought up a good subject. I know a lot of my honey's not capped this year. They're not capping it.
Eh.
I got boxes of it. At least 2 weeks ago, I had supers that were full, but none of it capped. None of it. It's like, why?
They don't have the resources. They don't have the time. They're still. I mean, they're working on other things.
Yeah,
I
they're
would
trying to
think,
get more honey
but
in, I think. More nectar.
yeah, they're not. They haven't gotten to put the lids on. They're just they're still
Grabbing.
hydrating it. They're still doing whatever they need to do, and then but uncapped honey has a lower moisture content than capped.
It's sometimes, yeah. Depends how much it's been processed.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want, I mean, I would wait until first week in July or second week in July, and then pull it, do the
That's next
shake
week.
test, and run it. Yeah, I know. I know.
I usually pull around 4th of July. I'm,
Yes. Yeah, me too.
I'm
But
pulling
yeah.
next
Oh,
week
hey,
because
Mark.
we
Yeah,
got a
it's
cold
not dry.
front
I
coming
would not.
through. It's going to get 10 to
Yeah.
15 degrees colder next week. Hey, Mark.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're still doing their thing. I mean, it's early here. What, it's the 25th. So even, July 5th or the 10th even, that's 20 more days
yeah.
of Hey Mark, have you ever heard of bees moving eggs? What do you know about egg moving? I'm curious. I've been meaning to ask that question on chats and I just forget. But what do you know about egg moving, being a queen breeder like you are?
And I saw
You know who would
Roy
know
was
about
on.
that? Hi, Mark. You know, Charles Linder? Bet he would know about that egg thing, egg subject.
Yeah, I could. I tried to find that article. I have to dig it up for next week.
Hey, James.
Mark probably driving.
I don't have a subscription to American Bee Journal. I wonder if I
I
can
don't
find
either.
it.
I think
So,
somebody posted it on Google or one of the sites.
oh, I see what you're saying. I'm off the chat, so let me know what Mark says or what somebody says. Journal article. I get old ABJs from my mentor, but
And I just
I
Googled
pass
it,
them
and it
along.
says Google says they move worker bees will move eggs.
Yeah, but sometimes I don't I don't I would
Yeah,
rather know somebody that heard someone say it, not Google sometimes is
bee source, bee form. I'm trying to see if I can find it in a magazine.
hmm.
Bee
Oops.
culture. Here it is. Well,
Jamie Ellis. All right, here we go. This is Jamie Ellis. I'm going to read it. Or no, actually, hold on. I'm going to bring this up on the. Okay, I'm going to bring this up. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm pushing buttons. Share screen.
present.
I'm a button pusher. Here we go.
Mark.
Okay. Let me know if you can see this.
Yep.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. It's here. It's up.
Bee scenting brood cells. I recently was told during a honey bee biology class that the workers scent the brood cells they want the queen to lay in by marking them with pheromones. This kind of makes sense to me since you always see bees several broods during lay in one. I always wondered how many. Well, oh come on. So this is talking about when she lays. All right, so that's not about them
No.
moving. Hmm. All right. Let's go back to yes, here, Mark. Yes, bees move eggs. They also eat them. Yes, they cannibalize. In lots of instances, they will cannibalize eggs. And they do move them, Mark says. Roy says eat them or move them during a dearth. Well, okay. Yeah, they cannibalize them or move them during so how do you know that, Roy? What's your source? And lay them. Well, yeah, but the ovaries, so to get laying workers, is their ovaries have to be stimulated to turn on. And they turn on with the absence of queen pheromone. So if you have a healthy queen, the ovaries of laying workers are not going to turn it on.
Right.
That suppresses it. So
And it takes about 2 weeks of it being off before that switch comes on. A good 2 weeks. That's what I've always
oh
heard.
yeah, and
Seen.
don't shameless plug, hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. I got quite a few new subscribers. I don't just ask a question. I don't just ask a okay. Observation hive. Yeah, I don't have an observation hive that I can sit and watch on a regular basis or see everything that goes on in it. I have, a one frame that I take around to different places. But so what prompt I've been meaning to ask this question for a while about moving eggs, but what really prompted it was yesterday I pulled a frame out of the box number 2 and it was full of honey with one charged queen cell in the middle. Then today I went in and looked at the bottom and there's a laying queen and everything's fine. But why would they run her up into honey to charge a queen cell?
And it did. And they moved an egg up there.
So Fred, I know, yes, Fred has his observation hives. And does Fred talk about moving eggs?
Yeah.
Uh, Collector Rick, you lost me here. Yeah, Fred
Yeah,
has
there's
the observation hives that he does get to see and photograph. That's what's cool about Fred is, he gets to
yeah.
you he gets to do a lot of his own research because not only he's photographing videography or whatever that's called, where you take videos of hours and hours and days.
Yeah, in fact, those queen cups you see on frames, they're there for emergency in case they lose their queen for some reason or another. They can take an egg that she had just laid and move it into that cup that's the right size already to make a queen cell. I
Yeah,
usually I leave them in my hive so they have that resource.
I don't leave all of them. I get rid of some of them. Purple eyed drone. So I think Mark's saying here, I've seen them pull back a purple eyed drone. I think they're eating it. I think they're taking the protein, they're consuming that purple eyed. Is that what you're thinking too? They're cannibalizing, they're taking that's good protein. I smushed a bee once. Huh?
I thought the purple eyed ones are blind.
No, purple eyed just aren't completely hatched. That's like so what
They're
drones are what,
immature.
24? It's like a 20. Yeah, they're still white, but they have purple eye. They're not completely developed. They're a few
Right.
days shy of developing. Purple eyed. Um oh, I've smushed a bee, just a worker bee by mistake doing, and they went and consumed her honey crop. Her honey crop was full and was still intact. And they went and broke that honey cap crop and consumed the nectar or
Oh yeah.
honey that was in there. And then whenever I'm breaking off drone, like drone brood between combs, I'll let them clean that up. I try not to leave too much comb in there because then that'll get cross comb, burr comb started. To try to clean it up, but I'll leave the larvae, any developed, undeveloped larvae that I take off, I leave for the bees to consume. because they barely, that's ready protein for them. Is that what you're thinking, Mark?
And my hive's been bearding big time this week. There's high temperatures all night long. I could
Sounds
check them
good
in the
to me.
morning and they're still bearding.
Mark, sounds good to me. No, I'm
Yeah.
curious as to what you were thinking on why they drug them back in. Are you just commenting?
I, I think they're just letting them get mature. Man, my
Hold on.
hives are loaded with drones right now. The ones I was just in, the ones I was just checking today.
Let me see if I can find. I just took some pictures while I was out. Let's see if I can find them.
My queens get mated or just did get mated. They should have plenty of drones.
Oh yeah, I was just down at my colonies, and one of them had 90% of the drones on the 90% of the bees on the front porch were drones. Just now at
Yeah,
6 o'clock.
I went deep dive into number 14 today, all the way down to the second last frame. And I think
Yeah,
every frame had five or six drones on them. They were everywhere.
here you go. Let's see if I can do this.
Yeah, I didn't find the queen until I got to frame 19. Second last frame in the bottom box. Go figure.
There you go. Just count the drones. So this is, can you see that? Can you see that picture?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't tell what you can see. So this is a bottom board I made up back when I had a lot of robbing. It's just I was an inexperienced beekeeper, and I was doing too many things wrong that created robbing. So I have learned since then. But this is a 3-inch shim. Underneath it, I put in hardware cloth wire. The bees can't. It's a screen bottom board basically, and then I drilled in 3/8-inch holes, three of them. One, two, and three. And then this is a ramp. This is a wooden ramp. And those bees now only have 3 entrances to go in and out. And I love those bottom boards. They have just been great. I don't have to worry about mouse guards. I don't have to worry about entrance reducers. The bottom is a screen, so they're able to move air. But this was at 6 o'clock. Look at the drones. One, two,
There's
three,
a bunch of them.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20. Look at all those drones coming home,
Yeah,
coming
they're
home for
waiting in
lunch,
line to get through that 3/8 hole.
for dinner. Yeah. No, they were moving, they're moving pretty fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, they can
Those
get
were
in and
the
out. It doesn't hurt.
those were the unlucky drones.
None of them were lucky. They're all unlucky. They're all unlucky. I took more pictures. I'm just trying to remember how to get them.
It really says you
No,
don't take
mice
a
can't
picture.
get in that collector. Uh, wait, hold on, back up. Hold up. It convinced me to possibly, but I think they may like to build a queen cell where they find the right egg. Convinced me it is possible. Okay. Okay, Fred. All right. Convinced you it was possible. Build a cell where they find the right egg. Yep. Yep. I'll take pictures of you, Richard. Let me fill it out there one time. Ah, that sucks, Kim.
I took
I
my
don't take
phone
my
out.
phone out off.
I took my phone out the
I
other
don't.
day when it was 101, and I went to take a video, and the phone was shut down with a message on it. It was overheated. I
Call.
had to take it back in the house to cool it down. Phone wouldn't
Yeah, but
work. It was too hot.
you can't. It's only back here. Um. Yeah. So when I take pictures, I'm not in my colonies anymore. I mean, once in a while I am, but this was like tonight. I just went down at 6 o'clock. Um. So 3/8 inch, my pinky is the mouse's skull cannot get through 3/8.
No, they can't.
Where
Yeah, mice can't get in 3/8. Baby
this,
mice can, but not adult mice.
well, yeah, baby mice aren't. Either they're in, they got to be in already, but yeah. So 3/8, the mouse's skull won't fit through that.
Right.
Hey, good enough.
Yeah, I think the drones are just waiting their turn to get it inside the hive.
Yeah, they are. They are. They're. It's just it's fat. I mean, they're moving in and out. So there's three instead of having one 3/8 inch. There's three. I'm gonna look for some more pictures here.
On my Apple hive, I run either 3 to 6, and that's it. With the same, same principle.
No, there's tea in the large in the big aluminum. Yeah, it's there on the counter. So you want ice? Yeah, or there's might be ice in it already.
Man,
Oh, so here's something else I was gonna share with you. Oh, Mark, let's get Mark in here. Let's get Mark in here. Here we go. I'm finding you, Mark. I'm finding you.
you might be driving.
No, he's here. He's here. Hi,
Oh,
Mark.
there he is.
Hey y'all. So what y'all talking about?
So, well, we were talking about, I don't know, I just took some pictures from my yard. So this is what I do, and I don't know if other people do this or not, but we're in the middle of the year here. I've got requeening in this 5 frame deep, and I had some warping. I had a nail come out or a screw come loose or whatever. So I put these clamps. I just clamp them right when the bees are in them. I clamp that shut and I just crank it shut and I leave it sit like that for a couple days, and then especially in the heat, and that'll just form right back. And then if I need a screw in there, I'll just drill it with the bees right in it, and they don't mind. But I thought that was interesting. I think I learned that from Fred. I think I learned to do that from Fred.
Yeah, that works pretty good. Sometimes I just take a heavy rock and I put on top of it for a couple days. That works too.
I
No,
show you
but
my
it's going this way, Tom. Not down. It's sideways. I'm
Oh, that
cranking it.
way.
I'm compressing it sideways, like a
Gotcha.
you
look,
know.
Nancy. See that?
Hi. Oh yeah.
That's my pea
Woohoo!
patch. Looks pretty good,
Bees.
You
don't it?
weren't going to have a garden, Mark.
I know, but I fought.
Wow.
I have fought to get what I got. We've had so much rain. It's been a battle. I'll show
That's
you
a
my
lot of peas.
corn. Yeah, Yeah. I'll show you my corn patch.
Hey, Grayson. Hi, Grayson.
I
Hi,
guess you're
Tiny
not
Tree. Oh, boy.
grafting as much saying you
We
got
got people
gardening
coming in
time.
now.
Yeah.
Keith. Hi, Keith.
It's that time of year.
Hey, Keith.
I'm behind because we've had so much rain, y'all. But that's my corn patch.
Well, that looks good.
Oh, wow.
And it goes.
Goes pretty far back.
Can you see that?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah.
Whew.
So you're feeding the
Then,
raccoons.
yeah, I've done caught one coon. They've been in my corn already.
You paint them like JW? He
No,
paints
I
them.
didn't.
JW paints them.
uh, there's my okra. I let the grass get it
Oh.
because the so much rain, the grass pretty much got it. You can tell. And I planted another row there. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
Yeah, I see the run.
Yep.
Yeah, the
All right.
raised.
You see these beans here? You know what them are?
What?
Them are great white northerns out of the grocery store. Dried bag of beans.
Okay.
You're
And
kidding.
have you ever had them fresh out of your garden?
Uh-uh.
They're so much better than dried. It ain't funny. If you like white beans.
Yeah, I like white beans. Sure.
Yeah.
I just got a new recipe for a salad.
And my
White bean
squash,
salad.
the grass is about to get my squash.
Mm.
Yeah.
My tomatoes look pitiful.
Oh.
We've had so much rain. They just turned yellow, so I ended up having to cut all the bottoms off of them, and it kind of stunted them, you know. So,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my zucchini plants, my cucumber plants didn't grow
all right,
because so much rain.
Yeah.
there's my apiary, part of it.
Yep.
Yeah, I see them.
Yep. We got eyeballs for that. We can see those boxes in the background. We know what they
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
Man, there's no
In
rain
fact,
out there.
I'm fixing to have to go water my horses, y'all. So I'm gonna get off here, try to get my chores done.
Well, thanks for showing us the pictures there. That's cool because you talk about it. Now we got a visual for it.
It's a lot of work. I'm proud of it, right?
There
Yes.
you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can
All
appreciate that.
right, y'all. We'll talk to you
All
later.
right. Come back
Bye.
later if you can. Thanks, Mark.
See you, Mark.
Oh, Keith Spillman. White beans and ketchup? Ugh. Please tell me you
Oh,
don't put ketchup on steak.
I don't think I've ever
Well,
heard of that one.
when we were kids, we used to put ketchup on white rice, so I'm sure it's the same kind of theory there
Yeah.
with the ketchup on the starch, you know? Yeah, wow. Gardens, man. I mean, bees and garden. I don't garden since I've been beekeeping because I just can't do both.
I
I just
got
can't.
about a 30-inch wide by 40 feet garden,
Yeah.
just a row. That's all I want this stage of my life.
So this is let's see what I got going on here. Uh there was no hives here. This section was nobody made it in here this year for me. So these are the double deeps. I call this my candy. There's candy corn, and then this is just my striped candy or something. Reminds me of candy. These purple, these green and pink boxes. But these are the double deeps here, and then these wax dip mediums are over. There's honey for them to overwinter in. This here is a wax dipped, or it's not wax dipped. It's the other eco wood. They're whole.
Okay.
They're not as pretty as wax dipped, but they're holding up. Just just as good. And then in the front here, you can't see it. I have a little 5-frame requeen. Put a queen in there, and this one here is requeening again. That's one of my sections. Oh, that's my granddaughter. Let's see here. All right. So how'd you do at market today, Keith? I know it was hot. I can't. I used to do a Wednesday night market, and they had us sitting on asphalt, and after working the bees, and then sitting on asphalt from 4 to 9. I wasn't doing well.
Yeah.
I didn't do well with that. Hi, Charlie.
Hey,
Charlie.
Hey Charlie, how you doing?
all right. Hot.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
that's an understatement.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just, of course, people say the city people, news media, as I call it, they hype it up. And I'm like, doesn't it get this way every year? You know,
Yeah,
I mean, we always have hot, humid spells, I guess you would call it. And
Only 95
right.
today.
I mean, the only thing
Yeah,
I
I
can
was.
say is I was out there. We have a fan in the mill. I'm out of direct sunlight. So that is a help. And um, yeah, Keith says it's called summer. Hey, Kim. And so you got that, and it's like, I was the last 3 Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I've been in the hayfield, and
Yeah.
I was yesterday. My son was driving the new machine and all that with the technician on board, learning how to run it, and he had broken some bales, so I was taking the flakes and trying to disperse them out through the rest of the rows so it wouldn't, have the machine get choked up. And then people were looking at me going down the road and like, you're out there and that. And I was like, yeah, I'm in long pants and sweat. I mean, it ain't the most comfortable, but it's just the way it is, That's farming.
Right. Part of life.
Hey, Grayson. But,
Well, yeah, because we're farming. I mean, beekeepers are farmers, and we don't think about. You don't go out because it's hot. I mean, you go out because you got to go out.
yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
temperature
Now, like
doesn't matter.
yesterday, would I go out? I mean, was it yesterday? Yeah, I guess it was yesterday. Um, got a call or needed a queen. I'm like, really? And so I got out there and I went up, suited up, got my long pants on because I knew I knew we were going to get long pants on to begin with for the afternoon. And went in there, pulled a queen out, made sure she's alive. And then I put in that day. He was right around the corner. I said, all right, I'm going to put 4 attendants in. You're good to go. And
Yeah.
I think 6 is a little bit much for attendance. Hey, Mike, and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
it gets too crowded. That little cage.
So Mark just texted me. Harry, his
Peacock.
says hi.
Yeah.
Harry. That's Harry the peacock.
Yeah, he got off just before his peacock got cocky. Well, yeah, I've been going out early. Like my mentee's been coming over, and we're out of the yard by 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:15. I think we went on Monday, but we're going in early and getting out early.
Yeah, I went out there. I guess it was Sunday. I was out there we were going to get in the hayfield, and I was out there at 7 o'clock or something like that, and I needed to
Mhm.
put a queen in a hive that I sold. I sold a nuke last week,
Yep.
and I'm getting ready to SHOW. It's HOW.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned you had to get a queen for somebody, Charlie. Nancy and I we just mentioned earlier this on this live that it's time for calls where people go and say they need a queen
Yeah.
or they think
The
they
new
need a
people
queen.
first, they'll be calling because their queen can't find her, and she's no, they can't find eggs. And they can't find her. Meanwhile, she's just sitting down low, cooling herself, having a margarita.
Hey, Roy. Yeah, I mean, I have not been able to graft for the last 2 weeks. The one Monday was rain all day and all night.
Hmm.
This past Monday, I was in the hayfield till I don't know 8:30 at night, and or at least, but we were finishing up by that time. But last night, we didn't get done. I didn't walk into the house. I think, well, I texted you last night. It was 9:30 or 9:45 last night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so now we're all done. My son, he's getting ready to leave tomorrow morning, probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning for Georgia. I'm like, where are you going? Well, I'm going down to this road. I'm like, okay, here's Claxton, Georgia, where the bees are. And here's where you're going. I says, I know exactly how to get where you're going. So I told him how we've been going. Instead of going all the way down 95 to what's the historical town in Georgia off next to the ocean? Where
Uh
all the old houses are and stuff.
oh, Williamsburg
No,
or
no, it's
um Georgia, I don't know, Charles
Charles, Savannah.
Charles Savannah. Oh, Savannah, I was there many moons ago.
Well, anyway, Savannah. So what what it amounts to is we found he's going to Claxton and all that, or Glaxton. We found that when you take 95 and you go across Lake Marion, which is a lake that was made by the WPA or one of the back in the the days um, of the Depression.
Hmm.
You get off of the second exit and you get on 301 and just take 301 all the way down to where you cross over Interstate 16, which is it puts you like 30 or 40 miles west and takes you right into Claxton. And then he's going to a town off to the left about, it looks like to me, maybe 20 miles where the big, he's getting his wife bought a cow and a calf. She's going to go into, see, how do you pronounce this cow? It's a Japan.
What Wagyu.
Wagyu. That's it.
Wagyu.
She's getting into the Wagyu business.
So they're not real Wagyu. They're
I don't
American
know.
Wagyu.
Yeah, whatever.
Because you can't, Japan won't let it out and won't let the genetics out of the country. So it's
No.
you have I have a farm near me that is American Wagyu. That's the only reason I know about it, because my husband's like, wait a minute, it can't be Wagyu. And then apparently my husband knew about Wagyu cows in Japan, which is a wealth of information. But anyway, yeah, so they're Americanized Wagyu.
Hey, Clay.
So that's top dollar, man. That's a lot of that's good stuff there.
Yeah, I don't know. There was an auction. They go on vacation. They'll go to Texas. They went out to some ranch out there that they specialize in that, the semen and all that stuff. And
Yep,
they
yep.
went there and they took them a tour of the ranch
Oh,
and
cool.
seeing all these here big show wagyus, bulls and whatever, and you could buy stuff from there, but I don't think their pocketbook is quite that deep.
Well, we have one. We have a farm right up near me. Charlie does all that.
She's
Mhm.
she's in. I don't know. She might know about all that kind of stuff. Hey, James.
Yeah, sure. She Googled it. Hey Clay. I see Clay came on through Charlie, I believe.
Yep.
And then Collector Rick went over to Tom's. I don't know how this works here. James Crunch. Hi, James. I thought I'd buzz by. Well, we're glad to have you. Hey, Clay. Yeah. So, Charlie, how do you guys share? How did you do that, Charlie? How did you share your?
Well, I
What do
get
you
her.
press?
When I come in your channel, there's a button up on the right hand corner. I want to share
Right
it
hand
out?
corner.
I click
Huh?
on that, then I put in the title, Nancy the Beekeeper, and then in the description I say live show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'm running it on my audience.
Yeah, I can see up top on the StreamYard. I can see it up there. I appreciate it. Thanks. So we were talking about eggs, Charlie. What do you know about bees moving eggs? Who
Mm,
spoke on that? Who has a talk
The only
on
thing I know who made mention of that here just recently was go to Bees in the Weeds with what's it name? Kent Williams. He
yeah.
said I've seen it where there was no eggs there, and then there was eggs there. So he said he made mention of it. It's not a common thing, I don't think.
I agree, Charlie. I don't think they do. I think they only do it when they have to do it.
I don't know.
Make swarm
So this is
cells or emergency cells or something.
A desperate hive. I don't think they're moving from hive to hive. I think they're moving from an area of the hive.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. Here's a question for you. Hold on, let's go back to James's question. Rain went through 20 degrees. Should I do a hive check after 6 days from last? One swarmed on day 9. Got it. So you asking if you should do a hive check 6 days from last? Well, it depends. What do you check in? What year beekeeper are you? What are you looking for? What are you hoping not to see? Or what's your
I think he's
inspection
checking a
for?
swarmed hive. Hive that swarmed 9 days ago, maybe?
One swarmed on day 9 and got it. Okay, well, day 6, yeah. So they're gonna cap cells on day 8. So
Well, they swarm. They probably got cap cells already.
Yeah. If
Or
he's
most of
trying to
them. There might
find
be one or two not capped, but the majority of them are capped.
if they got cells in there, swarm cells, then check to see whether the lid is hanging down.
yeah,
Yeah.
And that way you know you have a virgin. And what I'm talking about a lid is if you look at the tip of the cell, it looks
There's a
like
lid.
a hatch on a submarine where it's round and it has one edge of it is a hinge and it'll be flopped down. And maybe sometimes those, I have those, and when I go to them easy peasy cages and they come out, the girls come out in the hive and they get fed. When I dump that cage out to get her out after I take the cell out, is that the first thing is the trash, which is the lid falls out in my hand, and then she usually will walk out, a few seconds later.
Right.
And
So
yeah,
if I was James, I would have went in that hive that day or the day after they swarmed just to either cut cells if I wanted to make splits or kill all the cells but one or two. Some people only leave one, I leave two. So they don't have cast swarms. And then wait 10 days and see if you got a minimum of 10 days and see if you got a queen. And if you don't have a queen, wait another 5 or 6 more days, then check again.
Depends on the weather. This year, I always tell people 2 weeks for getting a virgin queen mated. This year,
Yeah.
because of all this rain we've had in stretches of rain, 4 or 5 days of rain, bad weather, it's taken an extra week. I've had several
Yeah.
people say, well,
Yeah.
anyway, several people came back. Oh, no, they didn't mate. And I said, give them another week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One guy I texted, I said,
Yeah.
hey, here's my first guy I sold my first queen to this year, virgin queen. I said, how'd that queen work out for you? Because he's in the club. And oh, no, didn't work out. I get a text on Father's Day. I'm in the grocery store on Sunday morning. And happy Father's Day. He says, well, I guess the bees are the boss. I think he said. So went in there. Here's 3 frames of brood laid up, or a couple frames of brood laid up. And then here's this here queen with a blue dot on her because I mark all my virgins. And so she got back,
Yeah.
It just took longer because we have had stretches of 3 and 4 days of rain.
Yeah. I tell my
Or
people
just crappy weather. Now it's like
to take those days out of the equation, Charlie. Take those days out. Like if you have 3 days of rain and cold, take them out of the equation. Only count the 70 degrees and sunny, no wind, whatever, as your possible mating days. Like you said, you add a week. If we get a week of rain, then you got to count that into the equation.
And then what I've noticed through the years, like today and like yesterday, it's been hot and miserable. You can go out there at 12 o'clock. My bees are out in full sun. Are they flying? Minimal. They are in the house. Like, we are not going outside. We're going to stay here where it's air conditioned. And then you get them out there about 3, maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and everybody's out of the house, flying all over the place, going crazy.
Yeah.
James, he's a 6-year BK.
Yeah, check the swarm hive. Yeah, day 6. I mean, I check them on, close 6, 7, 8, depending on when you can get out there. Oh, hi DC. I see you snuck in there.
Yeah. Hey, DC.
What's that word? Cruddy? Crubby?
Cruddy weather
Cruddy
bees.
weather bees.
Make cruddy weather bees. Yeah, I don't know.
You want to get Caucasian bees. They're flying cruddy weather.
Mine fly at 42 degrees in the rain. My bees here for years now. I've been clocking them at 42. They'll fly cold and wet.
That's cruddy and cold.
Yeah, and I don't know what I have anymore. I couldn't tell you. Harleysville
Yeah,
nuts.
it's funny. In the early spring, they'll fly at 42 in light rain or cloudy. But in the summertime, if it's 55 degrees and cloudy, they won't fly.
I don't know. I mean, Caucasian, isn't that the one that does a lot of propolis?
Yeah.
Mine are starting to propolis up more.
I don't mind propolis, but not that much. Not when it's gummy all the time.
Yeah, mine are propolising up more now after 8 years than any other year. It seems like it just took them a while to get going on that. Hi, Randy. You just collected some. Good luck with that. You put an anchor frame in there, a frame with eggs, larvae, and brood. Make sure they stick around. I always put an anchor frame in my my splits and obviously my splits, but in my swarms. Keep them anchored. I had one take off on me one time, and I don't know what that was about. They were just weird, but I put an anchor frame in, and they stick around for me.
Yeah, Beaksy says that he likes that stuff because he uses it. I guess he's making tinctures and stuff.
I had to do that with my last swarm, Nancy. It was one of my own hives, hive number 2, I believe. And they wouldn't stay in my box. And then the next day, I went and put a frame of eggs in, and they're still there.
I just could never take swarms off my property. I can't do that. So I just learned that technique back a long time ago to put an anchor frame in there. And if you know where it came from, if the swarm is yours and you know which one it came out of, putting its own in there is the cat's meow. They'll
Yeah.
really take to that quick. She'll start laying. She'll because if it's swarmed with the queen. If those are her eggs in there, they really blow up.
Rodney's
The
still
only
got
way
to
I could
still got to
the
do
only
it.
way I could tell, I think it's hive number 2. It's not bearding anymore, and all my other hives are. that
Oh,
kind of tells me it had to be number 2.
yeah. There's your clue.
Yeah, I haven't got in it yet though. I don't need any more hives. I'm up to 50 right now, Charlie.
Better you than me. I I got 18 honey hives and 11 or 10 or 8 nukes. I got 18 or 26 total. I got about,
Okay.
I don't know. I guess I got about 10 mating boxes out there right now. I know some of them are already mated. I need to get in there, but it's just either the weather's great and I've been in the hayfield, and when the time to end the day comes, you're totally, well, it's nighttime most of the time anyway. You're
Right.
done. You're done.
Good done.
And, or the weather's against me. So
Right.
I got a couple of them that are um, mated, and I um, I got some hives that I've got everything on my phone, and they'll have, when I put them in, and they got a blue dot, the 2025 girls and all that stuff. So I got a few of them. I got one girl. I marked her yellow because she's a 24. And I'm trying. The next big thing I really want to do is try to get in these hives and harvest honey. People have been around here. Having you done that? I'm like, no. I said, we've gotten so high humidity. That's going to translate into wet honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't have time right now. I mean, our hay crop, I'm helping my son on that, and we're a month behind. Everything's a month behind this year.
Yeah.
April was cold as ice. April, we didn't get the April rains to bring, what is it called? April rain and May showers and all that stuff, to make things grow. We always would have, here it is almost July. We're usually done by the middle of June at the most.
Oh. Well then, yeah. So let your honey go another month. If we're behind, like I usually pull July 4th. Like that's my big pull is July 4th. And
That's what
I know anything I pull is going to be either the 10th or later. Like it's not going to be the 4th. So what's Mark saying here? I got a question today and I don't know. Question is galvanized. Galvanized. Okay, for a honey capping.
A little
Galvanized.
rust
I
over
don't know.
time.
It'll rust for sure. I don't know whether I would.
Here, DC answered. Read that one. Honey slightly acidic. I think that's the answer.
Yeah, that's a good answer too.
Now, there was a Dinah that comes on my show. She got I don't know, it was something on Facebook, and it was like, well, you shouldn't use metal dippers or whatever
Well, I get
versus
that every
Yeah.
market.
wooden dippers. And he says, well, I'm sorry to tell you, but your extractor is made out of stainless.
Yeah.
Your uncapping tank is made out of stainless. Your uncapping knife is usually made out of stainless.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, I
Everything.
usually get non-beekeepers that ask that, people that aren't beekeepers. They want to know if they can use. And I said, well, do you have a real silver spoon? Do you have real silver at home? And they're like, well, no. And then I'm like, Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah. That is an older, that's usually probably something old someone found, galvanized. Wouldn't it already
Yeah.
be rust?
I think the galvanized, if you know, short term, you probably get away with it as long as it ain't rusty and stuff. But
Yeah.
galvanized gear in general is a thing of the past. I mean, you know, our health departments have said, "Oh, stainless steel." Well, what does stainless steel mean? It means it doesn't rust,
Well,
but it
it's not,
also, what it does, it's just like people say, "Well, aluminum doesn't rust." I says, "No, but it oxidizes. It does
yeah.
have like a white flaky
Oh,
powder stuff on it."
yeah.
Hey, Charlie, our extractors and honey caps are all made out of 304. It will rust over time.
I'm sure it will.
317 will not rust.
Yeah, the
304
old,
will.
yeah, Mark, the old spinners were galvanized. Yeah, that's what we had. That was the best we had. Probably galvanized
Yeah.
wasn't invented at the time.
Oh, ugh, ugh, ugh.
Now there goes Darren knows more so.
Yeah. Hi, Darren.
Yeah.
Nice to
I
see ya.
wouldn't use it.
Yeah, good enough beekeepers. He said it's um there's different types of
Yeah.
stainless, and and Tom just stated that there's
There's
different grades. There's
304,
different grades of
317, and I
steel.
think 324, I want to say,
I don't
or
know.
322.
So is
One of those
so
two.
is so you know when we see a different price point on different equipment, you see people that you see the equipment coming out of China that's built here but came from China, and then you see stuff that's actually from here. Is that the difference in stainless steel price
No.
points on
Depends on the
equipment
grade of
that we
that
see?
steel, I guess. Could be the grade, and it also like you look at a Man Lake extractor versus everybody else's extractor. Man Lake has got a thicker walled extractor, but and
Yeah.
I look at that and say, okay, it's heavier, but is it necessary? I don't think so.
Right.
But now I
Right.
have a Man Lake uncapping tank, and I look at that and I compare my tank versus what's out on the market today. Let's say from the China or the Korea or the um, Italy. A lot of it comes from Italy and stuff like that. My extractor is from Italy because the Man Lake extractor, but they come from Italy. Anyway, what I was getting at is you have heavy duty stainless, water jacketed. Then you have a lot of these other outfits that, yeah, they're a heated tank, but they're a blanket, electric blanket around that tank that heats it up and keeps the honey warm. Hey, Eddie, and
Now,
you know, I look at that and say, okay, what happens when the electric blanket burns up? You can't replace it. You can't fix it. Uh,
Hi,
on
Eddie.
mine, I have a hot water element, heating element, like your hot water tank in your basement. If you have one of those electric heater, I can take the water out, pull that out, get myself a new one, put a new one back in, put the water back in, which is I
Mhm.
buy the what do you call it, sterilized water or whatever they call that stuff, and you know, that you use for
Oh, yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't have any impurities in it. Anyway,
Oh,
that's what I
yeah. I just had it in the tip of my tongue, and then it's what's it called? What's the water? Just distilled,
distilled water.
still,
distilled water.
And so I mean, you know, I see the different. I see the value of buying Man Lake or Max Ant there, but um, in an extractor. It's
Yeah.
like it depends. I look at like, okay, let's look at the stand, like a license stand. It's got really heavy steel legs. That's a good thing. Mine are more pressed steel, not as it's it's been working great for me, but I got to watch it. You know, it'll get a wobbling like all of them do. But I like the license frame that it has better. License has motor on the bottom with a belt. Mine's a direct drive on top. So you got those things. Now, things with like Hilco, they finally, you know, I said this years ago when I bought my extractor to my friend. I said, why can't they design an extractor where it's banked on the inside so all the honey rolls around from one side and it's got a hollowed out area to go right out the spigot?
Okay.
Hilco came up with that. Took, you know, why couldn't Max Ant come up with that idea? You know, why can't the Americans used to have great ideas? I mean, what's wrong with our people?
They weren't talking to the beekeepers. They weren't talking to the people that use the product anymore. It took us out of the loop. I got mine from I got a Hilco last year, I think it was, 9 frame. And it does just fine. I mean, I used to go to another friend's extract, and that was the pain in the ass. But anyway, and she had all bolted to the floor and all kinds of stuff. And I thought, so I'm trying to figure out how to bolt mine to the floor. And I just started slow. I kind of, I fill it up, make sure everybody, it's kind of even. And then I just turn it on real slow and just gradually as it spins out, and I just turn it up until that thing's flying and it doesn't walk anywhere. I mean,
I got mine bolted. Mine's bolted down.
Yeah. I just start slow. If you start slow, it's a 9 frame. It's not an 8. It's not 18 frame and all that crazy. But I don't know. I just started out slow and get it going, and then
like me.
Hi, Lynn.
I don't have a uncap. I have an uncapping tank, which is a
Granado. Hello.
But I'll sit there and I'll do a Charlie weigh in my. Oh, that's a heavy one. Let's put that over here. And they got 3 spokes in there. I start out putting all the heavy ones at the spokes, and then you'll have a real light one. I'll put that in between the middle of the spokes, and I keep balancing that, by feel, balancing that out.
Yeah.
By placing it. Okay, let's put this here. Put this here. Let's keep expanding from the spokes out with the heavy ones, and it works pretty darn close. I've had some of them where I could spin that thing up. I had it dead on, and I could spin that thing up 50 miles an hour, and it slinged everything out of there. But some people say, "Well, I spin for 10 minutes." I said, "Well, I don't know. The way I look at it is, I got a little flashlight, a little LED light. It's got a clear top, and I stick that light on there like that. And if I see it still spitting out, if it's when it's first on it, it's like a stream coming out of those combs, and then it gets spitting, and it gets down to the point where it's hardly spitting a drop out. That's when I quit. It might take me 15, 20 minutes to do a spin. People say that's a lot. I said, well.
I don't know what the time is. I just watch the honey coming out.
I load the extractor as I uncap, and by that time I'm ready for a break, and let start out slow and let it get equalized as you're spinning.
Yep.
And then you keep tuning it up a little bit more, and all that stuff.
Yeah. Hi, Philip. You came.
And Lynn wants to know what I do with my sticky frames. Well, I have, an empty box there, and I put all my sticky frames back into that. And I only pull enough supers that I can get done within 3 days. That way there's no wax moth or hive beetle issues to be able for them to, if it's sitting there for 3 or 4 days, like hot and humid like this right now, man, that's bad news. And all. So like last year, I think I did 3. I did 3 loads into my house because I only have minimal space on the back porch.
I do the same thing, Charlie. And I put my wet deeps go back on the hive, and my wet mediums I just stack out in front of the hives 50 to 30 yards away and have a feeding frenzy.
Yeah, Jeremy does. He just bolts it down and all that.
Yeah,
Mine
if
pulled
you
it
got a
down.
20 frame, yeah, 20
Mine's
frame
mine's an
extractor, you
18.
got a different ball of wax there.
Yeah,
So
mine's an
Lynn,
18.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, so I'm
mine's an
just doing a
18, and
9.
I wait, but Jeremy there, he's well, heavy duty
So Lynn,
sideline.
you can do, it depends what you want to do. If you're going for a second pull, a second flow, or you can put them right back on. If you know you're done, you can put those wets above the inner cover, or you can take them and set them way at the farthest end of away from your colonies as far as you can go, and let them clean it up. They'll take it right back to the hive and store it for winter.
That's what I do.
So it
I put them
depends.
outside the house, and the colonies are, I don't know,
Yeah,
300 feet over here, and they'll
yeah.
fly over and they'll clean out the house there. Clean these supers out within about 4 hours.
Yeah.
And then
Million bees there.
I don't have a fall flow. Last year we had a fall flow. We had a flow, and Lynn talks about this back all the way through July almost, I think it was. And I
Yeah.
even asked the inspector, where's this coming from? He said, we don't know. Now, I don't know whether we're going to have anything like that or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you depends where you're at with it. You can put them back on, and then you can let them clean up. And then what I do is I let them clean everything. I have a line of pine trees that's up by the house. My yard is, oh gosh, I don't even know, like 50 yards maybe down from, but it's a big difference. I don't let them clean it out right near the colonies, but I take everything out. I take my strainer out. I take my bags, my knife, anything. I put it underneath the trees and they clean everything up spotless. I take my extractor, I set it out, I turn it on its side so the spout is facing up. And they clean out my extractor. They clean everything. All I do is rinse it off with hose water and put it away at the end of the season. Then I don't use any sort of chemicals on it. I don't scrub wax. I don't have to do any of that. My bees do it all for me. And then I
Jeremy,
feel it's a little more organic cleaning. I don't put any. I don't clean, scrub. I used to help. I used to do extraction at another girl's, and oh, the scrubbing and the chemicals that she'd use on her equipment and all of them was terrible. I just couldn't stand it.
what kind
I
of
just
chemicals
thought,
you use?
why? Set it
What kind,
outside
like
the
a Dawn
door.
dishwashing liquid or something? Or what?
Hmm.
What you use? Dawn dishwashing liquid or?
Oh yeah, liquid. Yeah, soaps and scrub brushes, and I mean, you could just set it right outside the door, and it would have been, go home, whatever, go away for a while, and come back, and it'd be good as new. You couldn't get it any cleaner than what the bees would do.
Jeremy there, he's got a bad problem. Yeah,
JW. Hey, JW.
he has 1,000 counties.
JW, they followed me in. There's one old fella missing though.
He's the oldest of them all.
Oh, Granada. I don't know how to say that. Sorry, Granada.
It's Jeremy.
Granada, honey.
His name is Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Jeremy's his first name.
Jeremy's out there.
He's in,
He's out in Texas.
he's in his second flow. I gotcha.
Yeah, he's got a cotton flow.
So I had a
And that was
question
one
for
thing I learned
JW.
that he said that cotton, there's GMO cotton, like the new stuff, and the old time cotton. Well, the old time cotton is what makes the honey, and he's got some
Oh,
and that where this other stuff doesn't. And people talk about like soybeans around here. I said, ain't nothing. I said I've had 30 acres up on top of that hill there, 30 acres of soybeans. Not one of my bees went up and got any of that because
yeah.
they don't want the plant to generate nectar. They want to put all that energy into that bean.
Right.
It is. So crazy stuff.
So JW had mentioned the other night talking something about groundhogs. He doesn't mind groundhogs.
I have
And we're the
groundhog.
opposite up here. We don't want groundhogs because groundhogs deteriorate everything you got. Like they, take your bottoms out of your sheds and your outbuildings, and they just cause a
I
ruckus.
got a
But we
bunch
don't
of them
have
out
any
here.
problems with
I gotta put
raccoons.
traps in.
Yeah, I thought that was different. Funny for him being down there in I want to say St. Louis, but raccoons we don't have.
Yeah.
I don't know if we very rarely see raccoons here. If you do, it's the daytime, and I think that's not a good
Yeah.
idea. But
I got
Well, I don't have any
raccoons, I
groundhog.
got
I got one
skunks,
cat.
I got fox.
Yeah,
I don't have any groundhog, which is good.
yeah. I got traps for them. And the problem is I got cats around too. I got one cat, but he usually doesn't
I
go out.
catch cats some.
Matt.
Hey,
hey,
Matt.
Matt.
Hey, how's it
So
going?
tell us tell us what you're up to, Matt. What did you do tonight?
Oh, I just got back from the local library trying to wow some people from the community about bees and the
Oh,
importance of pollinators. So
I'll be back.
yeah,
yeah.
it was an experience. It was the second speaking engagement I've done so far this year, and the first one was for a set of preschoolers at summer camp, and that was I brought a virgin queen in a little queen cage, and they thought that was about the coolest thing in the world. So a little different
Yeah,
for a lot of a lot older folks than preschool age here tonight. So it was interesting, and I could talk about bees pretty much all day long. So
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
I didn't really even go in with any kind of a plan. I just brought a nuke box with some drawn comb, a foundation, just 5 frames to kind of show them what would be going on a frame of bees, and just kind of the basic talk, I guess. But it was fun.
Yep.
right.
Do you have an
Bees
observation hive yet?
101.
I do. Yep. I have one at my house, but I don't have one that I can travel with yet.
Okay.
I
I
actually,
just have a single frame. I have the one with a single frame. I don't have. I borrowed one where it had the frame up top and the 4 frames below it. Oh, what a pain in
Mhm.
the ass! It's heavy, it's bulky, and
Yep.
you don't need. I
Yeah,
just know which colony. Like it's usually a 5 frame, something down there, and I just take that one frame out, put it in there, seal it up, come
Yep.
back, and they don't even have any queen cells or nothing started. It's I don't know, just been lucky, I
yeah,
guess. And that sells a lot of, when I sell honey and I take that. Now I take
Oh,
that
I
to
bet.
talks too, but
Conversation starter, I bet.
in
that
fact,
sells a
Nancy,
lot of
I
honey.
do I do the single frame, and then when I take that frame out of the hive, the other side that the queen's not on, I brush those bees off, just so there's not that many bees, so the kids can find the queen. There's
Oh,
not the bees aren't hiding the queen. I've had that happen.
yeah, once in a while, but they've run her back down again. I've
Mm-hmm.
had a
Yeah,
lot of luck with, at first when I bought that observation hive, it was expensive because I think they're handmade, but well, I don't know. And I was just like, and I didn't use it for like 2 years. I'm thinking I gotta sell that thing. It's collecting dust. Well, once I started using it, it paid itself off many times.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first time I ever saw a beekeeper in person was when I put on my suit. I had never seen one prior to that, so I know the majority of the public hasn't seen a beekeeper or his or her veil. So they were really interested. The first time I noticed that, we did a trunk or treat last year for Halloween, and the kids were just. I stood there with my bee suit on, and they just walked around the trunk, and they were just in awe. And it's funny because even the youngest of the kids who could barely speak or just speak just well enough, maybe 4 or so, they knew what I was,
Yeah,
even though they couldn't
yeah,
necessarily beekeeper or say, but they knew that they would say, "Look at me," and say "bee" or something like that, and
yep,
so that's cool. But that's just kind of putting it out there for people that just let them know that there's people as crazy as I am trying to. I don't even know what I'm trying to do with the bees. Just having fun is what I'm doing, I guess.
yeah,
But yeah, it's been a blast. Busy spring for sure. Now looking forward to all this heat. It's been mid 90s here The last better part of a week, I want to say, maybe going on 2 weeks, it feels like. But heat indexes, I'm sure, Tom, you're similar. Heat index is pretty humid. You're up in about 100,
Yeah.
105 heat index during the day. So,
Monday it was 101 degrees with 96% humidity.
oh yeah,
Mm.
that's
You just walked outside and you'd be then in the shade, no work, just sitting in a chair and you'd be sweating. It was that muggy.
I'm gonna mute my mic here
So
for a
Philip,
second.
JW runs the coon marking the same as the queens. Last year they were yellow, this year they're blue. So he runs his coon color the same. Got a
Right.
huge beech. Now, I got a question about bee trees. So, are bee trees always dead or always alive? They got to be dead, right? Bee trees
Yeah.
always got to be dead.
I think they
I've,
go.
I've,
I think they go
I've
in
heard
cycles.
that they prefer live trees over dead trees.
Oh,
Okay.
there's something with the mycelium and the synergistic effect with rotten wood and the decaying wood of rotten trees that is a mutual benefit to the bees. There's scientific studies out there with that. I can't necessarily recall or recant exactly right there, but it did have to do with basically the on basically the mycelium, the almost the
Yeah.
molar breaking down on the inside of that tree cavity was actually a benefit to the bees somehow.
So it's
Well, they
dead
have a
tree.
hollow cavity. It's a live tree with a hollow cavity in it.
Mm-hmm. And even a
Then it
even a
wouldn't be
live tree
live.
like that, it's getting rotten from the inside out is what's happening.
Right.
So it's a dead tree.
It's on its way to dying. Yeah,
It's on the way to doing.
It's an old
Yeah.
tree.
it's a matter of time
Gotcha.
before a big enough storm blows the right direction and it's on the ground.
Yeah, because don't we
Yeah.
see we see a lot of trees that fall over and then they or they're getting cut down in the
Mm-hmm.
process of being removed because they're dead or dying, and then that's when it's like, oh crap, there's bees in it.
Yep.
So I wasn't sure they were dead or alive,
We had,
in my head.
yeah, we had a tree that it looked,
Hi,
it was
Randy.
alive. It was alive, but it was like a hollow stovepipe where the
Yeah.
the part of a tree, the outer part of the outer rim of the tree is what is alive and growing.
Yep.
The
All
center
right.
part of a tree is really kind of dead, you might say. It's more there for support. I mean, there's
Mhm.
moisture and stuff. I mean, it's like people say, why'd that board have a crack all the way down the middle? I said, it's a heart board.
Mm-hmm.
And I says, it came out of the middle of the heart of the tree and it's really close to the big vein. It's like an arterial vein in a tree. And that's where all your water's going. And that crack follows that vein.
Yep.
And that's why it cracks. Like I had one here one time where
There he is. Now we got the right old guy. There's the right
That
old
old
guy.
guy in.
Yeah,
I don't want to argue. I want to argue.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to say.
There we go. Come
I'm
on.
gonna say
Buckle up, baby.
one's not any more prevalent than the other. The dead over the live. I've seen several of both over the years, and if a live tree, there's a lot of live trees that's still alive. It's got hollows in them and they'll have bees in them.
Mm-hmm.
I got one up there in my house right now that I went up
I've
there
got two or three around my
branch
farm.
that
I
big.
can show you.
Blew out and it's hollow up
Yeah.
there, but it's one of them maples that are three forks, and
Yeah.
the rest of it's live. But I'm looking at it now. I'm like, okay, how rotten is that thing? Maybe we just need to cut it and get her away from the house.
I couldn't stand it. I wanted to argue with Matthew, and I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say, one's not prevalent over the other, dead or alive.
But I think if the bees are in a live tree and it dies, they won't leave. They'll stay in it till it falls over.
Yeah, you're right there
If
too.
it's too
Why
rotten.
would they leave? They're
Right.
comfy. Why would they leave?
Right.
Well, if nobody's gonna argue with me, I'm gonna go back off here.
I'm not arguing with you. I don't argue with anybody.
Hey, JW, I got a question for you now that you showed up.
If it's personal, I
Have you
don't
ever
answer
seen
personal questions now, Nancy.
bees move an egg?
Moving
Have you
egg.
ever suspected that they move eggs?
I'm thoroughly convinced that they can. In my
Tell us
mind.
about it.
Tell you
Tell
about
us
it.
about it.
Well, they get a hold of them with their mouth and move them. You know, I've seen them. Well, I don't know. Let me regress on that statement a little bit. More so, I'm going to say you say egg. I'm going to say more so larva. I've seen them move larvae. So in my opinion, and some of it's alive, not necessarily dead that they're cleaning out. From a hygienic standpoint, I'm going to say yes, but do they do it very often? No, and I'm going to say it's a situation where the hive's in trouble. Where I've seen it, you usually end up losing that colony. Oh, okay. There, I got somebody to argue. Get him on there.
I've not seen them move eggs or larvae, but I've seen them abandon eggs. Like in a nuke where you put in a frame of brood and there's not enough nurse bees in there to give jelly to the eggs at the right time, and they'll just look like eggs that have been in there, and they just until they get removed, they just stay static. They don't ever develop. It seems like, but I haven't noticed them moving larvae or otherwise. I just wanted to argue with JW. Really,
I'm
I'm
uh,
kidding. I'm just teasing.
I'm a little bit of both, Mark. My head's hollow, and I'm a little bit dead and a little bit stupid. So I'm gonna
You
claim.
got bees in your bonnet? You got bees living in your hollow space?
Yeah, I think.
I think we all do. We're all a little bee crazy, I think.
Yeah. I know one thing, Matt. I need some queens. You need to get them out here.
Okay, well,
Oh.
you let me know how many you need. We'll get it taken care of.
I'll tell you what. I was in my what I call my production apiary yard this
Yep.
morning, and I should have took some videos of it. I AOV'd the whole yard, and there was, I think I seen, if I counted correctly, I seen 11 uh, doggone senior moment.
Mites.
Dragonflies.
No, dragonflies. Yep, in my yard
Wow.
while I was at AOV and vaporizing.
That's not a good thing.
No, there's no way I can get no way under God's green earth can I get a virgin
Right.
queen back here right
Too
now.
late.
Now you gotta start trapping dragonflies.
Yeah,
No,
I'm gonna figure out how first.
they make
Paint them blue, JW. Paint them blue.
Yeah,
it's called a garden gun, a 22 shot shell. We'll take care of dragonflies.
yeah.
There you go.
It depends if you have enough time.
Doesn't dragonflies usually around water?
Well, I've got
they'll be
my
in
two
hay fields, too.
main yards, Charlie. I've got about a 3 acre pond in between the two.
All right, there
One
you
of
go.
my
Yeah.
pond comes within 20 yards of my main production apiary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can go a far distance for water. Like I have a pond 2 properties over, but they're gonna travel. There's dragonflies. But once the dragonflies hit, like JW said, you might as well you're not gonna get mated queens. Not until whatever turns them off. Whatever back in fall, you might have a little something, but then your drones are gone. But yeah, once the dragonflies come, you can kiss it goodbye.
The most
So what's Icy Mountains?
Dragonflies, barn swallows, and purple martins are every place around me. So no way, Jose.
I got barn swallows. That's my business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Icy Mountain, the bees bearding are mostly the nurse bees. And if they're still flying in and out, the flow is still on.
Or they're
They're
just
Positive.
getting
getting
water.
water.
They
Yeah,
might be getting
they
water.
consume a lot of water this time of year, and even July and August they bring in a lot of water.
Yeah.
So
I always
they're
look at
coming back.
Yeah, Sandy. I don't know. I mean, around here, she's out in Western Maryland. I don't know whether or not there's any trees and stuff blooming out there or not. I wonder if there's some sourwood maybe out there or a linden tree. I think
Linden trees are probably still blooming if there are any in the
she's
area.
out there. She's out there in the mountains,
Sourwood's blooming now.
so you
At
might
least
have.
in,
There are trees a blooming. All right, Sandy. Well, I would say it's either sourwood or linden trees in your area. And
Yeah.
I don't
she's
know
out
where
there
Sandy is. I've still got persimmon blooming around
She's out
me.
there in Garrett County, close to Morgantown, and all them hills out there,
Okay.
and all. She's
If
in
you got
the.
persimmon, they're still blooming.
She lives in the snow belt.
Mhm.
When we go out there to Kentucky, you know, when we were coming back in, as soon as we get to where she lives, and of course, part of her area is that's right where the ski slopes are,
Mhm.
and
No,
it's like
it's high.
this.
It's high up there.
We're right at the top of the mountain where all the snow comes, and finally, once you get to Frostburg in Maryland, then it all stops. And then by the time we got to Cumberland, they never seen anything. It was dry as a bone, you know. So you got sumac. I got
Yeah.
some sumac here that's blooming. I'm not sure whether they're getting anything out of it. That's why I'm not in a big hurry. It's too hot. It's
Yep.
miserable. You know.
yeah.
Though if you
Elderberry.
smell, they're curing it. Doesn't mean the flow could be over if you're smelling it. Sometimes, like
Yeah.
my some of my colonies are smelling real good, but they're curing the honey.
Mhm.
The
That's why
flow isn't
Sandy.
indicative
That's
of
why Sandy calls herself Icy Mountain Honey because it's icy mountain out there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that
And I,
makes
and I, Nancy, I think I answered my own question of why they're not capping the honey. Humidity's been up in the 90s this whole week,
Yeah,
last week.
yeah.
The dew point's been up in the 70s.
Well, see, they're on that their government shutdown for safety.
yeah. There's protocol.
The union shut them down. It's too hot. Um,
Yeah.
and I know the drones the drones will help dehydrate too. So if you hear a lot of thumping, sometimes you hear it in your colonies, a thump 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 thump. That's the drones helping dehydrate.
Is that a four
Yeah.
propeller drone or is that a two propeller drone?
yeah. That's the Huey drones.
Yeah.
They do sound like a bigger helicopter when they take off on a frame.
Yeah, you can hear the
Yeah. Little
difference.
people pitch.
Yep.
You can hear the
Oh,
difference. I had a picture up. I can put it up again. I had a picture up about just at 6 o'clock. I went down and took a couple pictures of my colonies, and this one had I don't know 90% drones in the front porch.
Mm-hmm.
90% of them were drones.
Wow.
Let's see if
Yeah,
I can find it again. Real.
I view bearding, again with my limited knowledge, that to me is just whether or not you're on a flow or not. I think it's just too many pigs under the blanket, so to speak. Just too much heat in the hive. They gotta
Yeah.
evacuate due to fire code, let's call it, and let enough airflow circulate through that hive to keep it at the temperature that they need it. So,
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
just a population call that day for the heat and humidity of, 1,000 bees out there, or there's 5,000 assigned to get out.
I like to see when my hives are bearding it and tell how big they are.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a
I know.
bottom board I had made. This is
Yeah.
there's 3/8 holes here, and they're coming in and
Yeah.
out. This is a ramp. I know you can't really, but this is a 3-inch shim that I ended up drilling holes in. I put some hardware cloth underneath some wire, so it's a screen bottom, and then they're on double deep, so it kind of gives them that space underneath the column, underneath the frame, the box number one. Gives them that little bit of space, but I called all these drones, probably 12 or 13 drones here, all coming back. Unlucky guys. But I thought that was odd that, it was on 6 o'clock.
Hmm.
They were all coming
I'd
home from
call them
dinner.
lucky if they made it back. If it
Yeah.
didn't make it back, it was unlucky.
Yep.
But I like that bottom board. I like those. I made them because I had such bad robbing. It was because I was a terrible beekeeper and I figured all that out. And I stopped using them, but now I want to go back to, I really like these because you don't need mouse guards or, I just really like them.
Yeah, so for me and the way we're running our production colonies, at least, it's basically the exact opposite of our winter philosophy in a condensing hive. We're keeping our reducer in, for 4 inches by 3/8, so it does have somewhat of an entrance reducer on there to keep from robbing, cutting that down. But we're cracking our lids about a 1/4 inch on top, and with screen bottoms fully open, so they're able to vent quite effectively up and up the front door and out. Versus in wintertime, it's
Mhm.
a total sealed deal with heavy insulation on top.
Yeah,
Right.
I run, like you say, about a 4-inch reducer on most of them, and screen bottom board. And on my lids on their inner cover, I put them little blocks that are, I think they're 3/8 of an inch tall. And I kind of measured it. It jacks that telly cover up in the front. I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch. Gives it
Yep.
just enough ventilation to chimney effect
Yep.
and all that
Right.
stuff. And I found if I didn't do that in past years, that it would get, you got sweat and moisture up there, and it would start molding on me.
Mm-hmm.
So, about like you say, in
I'll
the
put it.
wintertime, last year was my first time using insulation, and I got
Mm.
my insulation, put the stuff up on top, and of course I put my carpet around the ones that are exposed to the wind. Worked great, no moisture problems or anything.
Yep.
And
Right.
I closed up the screen board too with Coroplast.
Yep. Same
And then
here.
Mhm.
I after a while I get to the point where I made these little wedges, especially for when I'm blowing smoke in them with OAV.
Yeah.
And so to keep that, I try to keep that vapor in there, the cloud at least 95% of the time, where
Yep.
it's contained.
I do
And
this. I do the same thing. If it's leaking
insulation
like
across
that,
the front. I got an insulation strip that I made that you close the front up. And by the, like I say, with the wintertime when I'm doing it, I just leave the darn wedges in, and I just it's just the way I run them, and they seem to be just fine
hmm
and all that.
that's just part of being an intentional beekeeper, and not just treating the hive and letting half of the vapor escape out the front or the bottom, and then call it being treated. So that's how I would do the same thing. Shimming it to get it as tight as possible.
Yeah, Matt will tell you my hives never beard.
That is a great, for the sake of argument's sake. I'm glad you brought that up because I've been thinking about it, JW. I went home and I looked at some of my yard, and I don't have near the bearding per se. And then that next day I came home and it was in the mid 90s, and I had what's like 10 or 15 pounds of bees out on the top, out the vented cover on top. So
Uh,
I think
JW's just saying he's got all mini hives then.
no, he had bearding from the landing board to the ground. I mean, literally, it looked like that hive was
Oh
alive
yeah.
of a black face or a brown face of some kind. So
I went out
I'm
there yesterday.
convinced. I'm
Was
convinced that screen bottom board being open for that air circulation in summer, especially honey production time, is key for us. I'm not. I'm again. I don't. I know enough just to be dangerous. I'm just saying what's working for us, and that's having. And you can feel the wind. I mean, you can feel that heat where they're
Yeah.
flapping up on top. You can literally feel it
yeah.
exiting the hive. So
Oh yeah.
Hey Lee.
Hi, Lee.
Hey Lee.
There's Lee. Yeah, I
Hey
have some
Matt,
solid
I've
bottoms.
been in one of my hives that was bearding big time. You'd be surprised. There's still pretty many bees in the hive.
yeah, I think it's just enough for them to be as efficient as they possibly can. You know,
Yeah.
that's how I view that.
I don't know. I went
Yeah,
by
I
there.
have,
We were pulling hay. You know, I drove the fifth wheel trailer around to get a load of hay yesterday evening. I don't know, let's say 6, 7 o'clock. And I'd say 80, 90% of all my hives, they were a whole pile of bees out on the front door.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me ask you all this. Can you tell? I've got about 50-50 screened and solids. You know, just I kind of like to mess around and experiment around. Can you tell? You think you can tell a big difference? Do you fellas?
yes, yes,
I,
absolutely.
I think
When you
so.
go down through my yard, you can tell exactly which one's a solid bottom and which one's a screen. And I'm getting rid of all my solid bottoms because I just it so my solid bottoms, they live outside far more than they live inside, and it's my microclimate. It's not that that's going to be different. That's going to be different. I have my mentor who's 20 minutes away. She went to all solid bottoms because her yard's different than my yard. But my yard, I started with solids, I went to screens, and I still kept a couple solids, and I'm getting rid of them. Actually, I drill a hole and I cut them out to make them into screens. But my screen bottom board colonies do much better than my solid bottoms. One year I lost, I don't lose very many, but one year every colony I lost was a solid bottom.
And
you know and
why do you think of that, Nancy?
I don't know. I don't know. It's my yard. They just don't do well. And I'm either going to sell them
Here.
or cut them and create. I really am trying to downsize, trying to get rid of, so I might just sell them. But um yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But
I know
solid
that.
bottoms just do not work well in
No,
my yard.
see, I was just the opposite, Nancy. My screen bottom hives didn't do well. I went all solid for my
Yep. So
climate.
I know, I know. I mean, my mentor, she got rid of all her solids when her screens went all solids. So
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to learn what works, in different yards. There might be yards that, my Fort Washington colonies, they have all solid bottoms and they're doing just fine.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
I don't,
everyone.
I don't,
Well, I don't know. The only thing I can tell you is I got that cell builder out there, and I thought I had a ball of bees up underneath the bottom of it. And it's a screen bottom board 5 frame,
mhm.
and I got into it over the weekend or whenever day. I don't remember what day it was, but anyway, I got out there to check and see, and it wasn't a ball of bees. It was drawing comb underneath there.
Wow.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, or is it because I'm trying to find a queen and I didn't see any queen, and there was some brood there. Whether it was laying worker, I don't know. And
Yeah.
so the only thing I'm thinking of it is if I had a solid bottom where I put my chloroplast in there, it'll break that the smell, I guess you would say, from the queens up inside.
Well, she
Well,
just
I'm going to
came
make
back.
a statement here, folks. As of this afternoon, I've got 47 beehives.
Better you than me.
And I'm about half and half screen and about half. I'm not going to say exact numbers, but I'm about half screen bottom board and half solid. And I'm going to tell you just the way it is. None of mine, from a production standpoint, as of today, are suiting me for honey production. Not a one, either way. So I'm just telling it the way it is. But I'm not satisfied with my prospects for a good big honey crop.
Too much rain.
I assume, Charlie, that's part of it. I just don't. I'm not going to profess to have the answer. I'm just telling you the facts. And
Well, for me, it rained right. It rained. It always seems to rain, except for occasionally when it comes to locust bloom, and then right behind that's a poplar. and it rained pretty much while the poplar was all blooming. It was pretty much done. Who's bearded
That's a
high?
solid. That's a solid bottom in my yard. Look at that.
I've got some screen bottom, Nancy, that looks just about like that also. I'm sorry, but
So this
I'm
in
not
this
trying to be
picture,
argumentative. I can't tell a big difference, honestly, in this really hot
yeah,
weather. But it's in the 90s here, and our heat indexes are in the hundreds. And I'm not saying I hadn't even checked what the humidity is, but if you move, you sweat. That's all I can tell you.
yeah. So this here, I ended up putting on another medium. I this is my inner cover, and I popped the screen. I have a screen across the hole there, and I pulled that out because I couldn't disrupt. Here it is without that extra. I couldn't disrupt them to take that inner cover off to add the medium.
Yeah.
So what I did was I just took the screen out of the inner cover there to give them access, and I put frames in it, but then I added another medium. So these pictures are a day apart. I added another medium, and more of them came out and went up into there. But that's a solid.
I don't use inner covers
Crazy.
period, so I can't.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting away from them.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about getting away from them too, finally.
Yeah, you get a little more Charlie's favorite propolis in them, but without the inner covers, propolis going to cause you a little more of a headache.
Yeah. I use double bubble wrap. That's my inner cover.
Well, that's me. That's what I use.
Yeah.
Where'd Matt
You
go?
I'm thinking
flex.
about
I
it.
probably had
I'm
Matt
thinking
on.
about it.
He gets mad at me, and he goes on. He goes.
Especially when I have my supers on. I don't need to, I can just pull up a couple inches, look down in there, see if it's got honey and not, and close it back up.
Yeah.
Well, the only reason that's holding me back is I have winter. My inner covers are called winter inner covers. They're about 2 inches, and they got a nice hold. So that holds my insulation. That holds a lot of stuff for me. I run rapid rounds. I love my rapid rounds. They're on probably nine. Maybe half the year, and the different covers, the different caps, all of that can stay inside the colony. So it's kind of like a storage area for me. And then my rapid rounds fit on that, and then my Hive Alive fondant fits on top, and I don't know. So that's kind of why I haven't gotten
Sounds
rid
like
of
to
my.
me, Nancy, you got a system there that kind of works for what you do. So
I know.
you just kind
And
of
I'd
keep.
love to get rid of the inner covers. I really would, but they hold my insulation all year round, and so
Yeah,
I
but I
that's
mean, it's
that's
not. It ain't like a normal insulate or inner cover. It's more of a. It's
yeah,
a
it's a
multi-purpose box, you might say.
so
Yeah.
Forest Hill, the Amish guy, a lot of people on this side of the country use them, and they sell it as a winter inner cover. And I started buying them, back my second year, I guess. I have some of the originals, but uh, so it's a storage area for me too.
Yeah. Well,
If it works, I wouldn't change it. That's all I can tell you. I
Yep,
haven't found
and it
anything
works.
that's guaranteed to work year after year, after year after
Yeah,
year. About the time I think I've got it figured out, the bee gods make a fool out
my
of me.
compound, honey compound.
hey, Jason.
Yeah, and I lost that colony. By the way, just to add, I lost that colony. That colony was so strong and doing so well, and I ended up losing that colony. And it's a solid. I took the solid off this just now, within the past 2 or 3 days. I took the solid off of that. And it's not going back on.
You know, sometimes you can go in a winter with actually too big of a hive. and they just take up way too much resources.
Well, I mean, I've heard some, I'll say beginner beekeepers, oh, they got so many bees. He got so many bees. We got to put a third super on. And I'm like, no, you don't. To me, that's inexperience. It's just
Right.
they'll push them down. And then they also have that same idea of, oh, I got so many bees in a single deep, let's say, and I got to put another box on for a brood chamber. And I'm like, I'm looking at, well, how many frames you bee? Well, I got about 6 frames of bees. I said, well, then you don't need no more box. They don't have the experience on.
Yeah.
They
Right.
think they got a lot of bees, but they ain't got a lot of bees.
Right.
And
They don't know what a beehive looks like yet.
Yeah.
There he is. I
Yeah.
was wondering where he went. Did
Sorry, no, it was my phone. Went to like an emergency
Oh.
shutdown. I had it on the charger. It's overheating somehow. So
Oh, okay.
use my
Because I was
earbuds,
messing
so
around, and I'm
I
thinking,
thought I
did
made you
did I
mad.
snap that?
no. I gave you the Irish goodbye, JW. No.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So yeah,
I
my
tell you
phone.
what, folks, I just got
That
on here. So I just
Sunday
got on.
afternoon, my hive number 2, I think it was, swarmed on me. A 9-10 frame swarm, a big swarm. And my phone, as I was using it, overheated. And my video disappeared. It
Wow.
Oh,
it didn't record, but it was recording, but then it stopped recording and didn't save any of it.
Mm,
uh,
yeah.
Well, I
how
just
do we
come
get
on
our
to
buzz?
argue about dead trees versus live trees for feral colonies. So nobody will argue with me. So I'm gonna get off here and go back to bed.
All right.
Hope you're
All
feeling
right,
better.
JW. Well, thanks for coming on.
Well, y'all have a good evening.
Thanks for arguing with me.
Yeah. All right. Have a good one. See you, Charlie.
See you, buddy.
All right.
Yeah.
See y'all later. Yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah,
That's
it's 1/4 after. I can't believe it's only 2.5 hours. Last week, I think I went, or
Past 10.
3 hours.
I
I
went
don't
like
think I
this a
got.
couple times. Nancy, we got 3 hours.
That was past Nancy's bedtime.
Oh yeah. Well, I prep. I prep for this.
Oh, so you went out and slept for a while.
Oh, I slept in this morning. I stayed in bed till eight
Oh.
8 o'clock, something like that. Instead of being in the bee yard at 7.
Mhm.
Well, in the when I start feeding there for a while, I get up at 6. I'm prepping my feed in the dark to get out there and get everybody fed before the yellow jackets wake up. But yeah, so that season's coming here, but
It's like
I let them.
so far I haven't seen a single yellow jacket, and then all of a day or all of a sudden one day it's just like a light switch goes on, and then here they are. It's not
You
just
can hear them.
one here,
You
one
can.
there.
I
Yeah, it's
hear them.
all of a sudden they're just there, and in numbers,
Yep.
not but I guess their
I hear them
population
go
gets big
cruising
enough to where you
past.
start seeing them.
Don't mention that word, dirty word, yellow jacket.
Good
Yeah,
night, Lynn. I know the
I would
heat
weed
does
eat
wear you out.
I grew up with horses, so behind the barn where we pitched the manure, I was in charge of weed eating that hill, and of course the horses coming up hungry to the barn would climb and leave a perfect little hoof cave, and the yellow jackets just love those.
Oh
So
yeah.
I learned what yellow jacket nests were pretty young, so that's
Mm.
and also what it's like to get stung, but they can keep stinging you. That's the difference there. They actually hurt worse to me than a bee sting.
Yeah. It's funny though that
Yeah.
when you're at the hive, you can just go over right with your finger and smash them. They
Hmm.
don't even know that you're there.
Well, so this is when I do my little speech about yellow jackets. Yellow jackets are very telling of a colony. So I let my yellow jackets tell me the health of my colonies. They're going to tell you which one's weak, which one's sick, which one has
Yeah.
mite pressure. They're going to go after the colony that is not doing well. So I use yellow jackets as a tool to tell me who needs, you know, what they need. They go in and they come right back out within a split second. You got a colony that's, you got good guard bees in there. You got yellow jackets go in and don't come back out. You got an issue, you got a problem.
Yeah,
I don't kill
that's
yellow jackets anymore. I used to. I don't kill them. I
that's a
just let. Go ahead, Matt.
oh sorry. That's the way hive beetles would be here, I guess, versus yellow jackets and seeing the health of a colony. They're almost always going to be around, but we just keep strong enough hives to be able to keep up with them and not,
Right.
them never blow up. So, but yeah, if a hive were to fall or falter or not come back clean right or something like that, they would kind of like crocodiles swimming around the moat of the castle. They're ready to snatch any given time. So,
You got that right. I don't bait. I used to bait and kill them. I used to do the soda cans, cut them and turn them upside down and put all your crap in there and your chicken wing and all that. And then I had that to deal with. And I'm like, ugh, like, wait a minute. So I need them as pollinators. They're pollinators, right? We need them just as much as we need everybody
Cleanup crew.
else. So just don't,
Yeah, they're
like I
they're
just,
cleanup crew. That's what they're for.
yeah,
There to clean up any leftover messes for winter time.
yeah. I don't kill them. I don't do all that anymore.
I don't put traps out, but if there's a yellow jacket nest in my yard, I'll take care of it so I don't get stung cutting the grass or
Oh yeah.
weeding the landscaping.
Oh
mhm.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not gonna leave. Like I haven't ever. Mine are in the woods and running along the creek there. They're all down in there, I'm sure. Some
I had
years
one
they're
of my
really bad, and other
last
years
year. I
not.
had one in my front landscaping. I didn't know I had until it got big. Like Matt said, light bulb went out, and all of a sudden they were flying back and forth.
Hmm.
And
Matt, can you show us
Yeah.
your yard?
My bee yard.
Yeah.
Not it's not here at this house. It's our farm's about 10 miles away.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
I wish I could. Yeah, I'd go there. It looks like the grass cutter got fired or whoever was cutting the grass. No, I'm kidding. But I planted wildflowers and I kind of let it go feral because that to me I know that the bees surely don't care, and
Yeah.
I have sweet clover and Dutch clover and you name it I've planted it. Earlier this year there was bee balm and so it's just all kinds. I
Hmm.
just go and plant as many of the perennial
Yep.
flower seeds as I come across them. And I've noticed you don't see them that year, but the next year you'll start seeing flowers you've never seen before, and you see bees working it. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
we have 7 yards altogether. We're probably about 140 clean right hives right now to give an idea. Um,
Jeez.
we're really and I'm doing full-time carpentry. We're building decks in this heat, so that's um
Uh.
it's busy, and it's exactly what I've asked for, so I dove in pretty heavy, but I'm also willing to travel to learn, so I'm making some trips down to Mark Miller's, trying to soak up as much information from the greats, let's call them, and JW's. He's so humble, he'll act like he's not a wealth of knowledge, but you know that he is. And just things like that, just diving in head first and not being afraid to spend some time and actually get something out of this, too. So um yeah, this year the bees are paying their way, and I think
Oh, good.
I'm on a track to draw about 1,600 frames this year as far as foundation. So to give you an idea, that's I'm uh I'm treating my boxes and getting them out in the yards about as fast as I can either assemble them or buy them, one of the two. So
Hmm.
I'll
funny,
stop.
Matt.
Yeah,
This is my best year of getting boxes and all my hives, getting my hives big, and then the
yeah.
flow didn't happen.
Yep. Yep. That's the way it goes. You know, our flow didn't really start kicking on and really shift a gear until probably the middle of May. I mean, we didn't really get a huge spring or locust bloom here. Um,
No,
okay, I guess I would refer to it as, but again, this is my second and a half year, you know, going, this is my third full year, I guess you'd call it. So first
yeah.
year,
Mhm.
I don't even know if you count that I had two hives and I made one walk away split, you know, but so
It's
We all
yeah,
start
2018.
somewhere.
This is by far my worst spring I've ever seen with all the rain.
yeah.
It didn't stop raining until June. So my flow didn't start till June.
Yeah, that's about the same way it was here, you know, but when this heat and some of that rain dissipated, they just shifted a gear and um
Yeah.
it's there's several hives that I have, you know, that are 6 deeps tall, you know, and I'll have to probably put on I need to extract. That's my biggest problem. Um, I need to start extracting because I think I counted somewhere in the mid 60 deeps and similar on the mediums. I don't know what the weight is on that, but I know that much that that amount of supers are full. So
Yeah. I'm hoping my boxes are full. I haven't checked.
the just
So,
riding that wave, I guess, for right now. So a lot of people are, you know, haven't had the best honey production year. So um, just it's all about location. You know, we're blessed with a lot of creek bottoms and river bottoms along the Mississippi, you know, and it's pretty fertile ground
Yeah.
if you know. Um, so we make a lot of honey on the hedgerows and kind of farmers being lazier, I guess you'd call them. So we're
hmm.
When your 3 months of spring break records and rainfall, it's just not a good thing.
yeah, yep, that's true.
Well, you say about that hedgerows, Matt,
Hmm.
is that now they don't call them hedgerows anymore. They're called pollinator wildlife,
Mm.
restoration area.
Gotcha.
Refugees or
So
sanctuaries.
farmers 20 years ago took out all the hedgerows. Well, you don't have a place for pheasants,
Hmm.
rabbits, all your mammals,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
you nothing for the bees because usually it's honeysuckle or that's when people come to. Well, I want locusts for locust post. I said, locust trees were more or less a fence row tree. You
hmm,
didn't have them in a grove of trees like a forest.
yep,
They're more of an outlying tree. And I said that all the fence rows are cleaned up and gone.
yep. That's
Yeah,
And
they wanted that extra 3 feet of corn, extra 3 feet of soybean,
exactly
extra
right.
3 feet of
And
whatever.
now they, I guess it was Dr. Debbie Delaney said, this guy, I guess it was an ongoing experiment. And I'm going to say it was a grain crop. I don't know what it was, um, whether it was soybeans or what it was at this time. But where the person had hives over here, had a pollinator friendly area over on the edge of the field. Those, and of course, he's got a combine that tells him what his production rate is in that area. It went up because not so much the bees went to those, it was more of an overflowing from what they really wanted into the I'll say soybean field.
hmm,
So it was proving that, and everybody said, "Oh, you got to put these here pollinator friendly strips in and whatever," And a friend of mine in McDonald's who's passed away now, he's a farmer or part time farmer. He said, "Yeah, we used to call them fence rows," and I'm like, "You know what? You're right. We
hmm,
it was naturally the fence row was for all the animals and stuff that was in the field, and also the pollinators, and now they, like you say, Nancy, the big farmers, they want to farm right up to the blacktop,
Yep,
to get
yep.
every inch.
Because
And
they can. There's a legally a how we has residential, we have this say 10 feet off the property line. Like
yeah,
you have that farmers can
eat,
run right to the line. And my guy, I live next to a farm here, and he ran to that line, and then every year he would run his tractor tire another 18 inches. another 18 inches, another 18 inches. We ended up taking probably the depth of probably 20, 30 feet over the course of 30 years.
Of where?
And then
Somebody else's property?
my property. So when we
Okay.
bought this property, it was 2 acres. They said it was 1.92. So I'm like, where is the 2 acres? I can't find 2 acres. So I Google mapped it and I couldn't find it. And I kept thinking, oh, it's over here. This other development overstepped the boundary. Well, I noticed I lived next to this guy farmed next to my apartment I had for 7 years, and I watched him creeping over there. So then I thought, well, I'm going to watch this guy. Sure enough, one year he ran that 18 inches, and then, he takes everything down with that back tire. And the next year he comes along and he just runs his tire a little more. So I had the place surveyed. I spent the money and had the place surveyed and pushed him back to where he belonged.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that
we're gonna
But
put
I've seen
trees up.
that. I mean, we had where these highs are behind me, north up toward, not that way, I guess it is. We were over on out. We had, before my father passed away, before the other guy passed away, we had it surveyed, and we were over on him by about 2 feet, over the years. And there's no problem between us, but it was just, I think years
Yeah,
ago we plowed. I remember
yeah.
plowing the field one time. Well, the plow was plowing it out. Well, what the heck? It's, to them, it's, just yard, less grass
Oh,
to
this
mow.
wasn't 2 feet. This was going around trees and sheds a whole 30 feet. You
Okay, yeah, well,
know,
that's a little bit different story. I
yeah,
mean, we
yeah,
kind of knew, we had a general idea where the lines were at. We were just a little
yeah.
bit variation there, and 19 took. Darren, that's wonderful. I said that, if I get
That's
20 out of the 30, shoot, yeah, man.
Yeah, that's good.
hey,
wow.
Your first time or being new.
Yeah, now Darren, something that I've noticed this year, and I learned a lot, and I'm still learning. I'm still grafting too. I just haven't done it in 2 weeks because of either rainy weather or because of work. Is that, like I said on my video, you can get, like, you got 19 out of 30, or there's a percentage of of non-acceptance. Then I had the cells. I put them in the incubator. Well, then I put them, because it was cold when I first started at nighttime. It was in the 40s a lot of times. So then I would put them back into the hive in those easy peasy cages. And one of them, I had 5 or 6 of them didn't hatch. And I opened them up, and they weren't formed and all that kind of stuff. But I watched some of my videos. When I did that one video, I was picking up the cage and it caught on that test tube holder. We got bam, bam,
Oh,
bam.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking really heavy or hard. I'm just I'm talking about just slightly smacking. The rest of them were getting a little bit of a smack. And I says, right there, you've got to be very conscious of, don't jostle them. I don't care what stage they're at, what the books say or the charts say. You be so, I mean, when I'm coming around there with my frame of cap queen cells, they're in my hand as a human springboard, where they're not getting jostled by the truck or anything like that.
I did the same thing. I know a bump's
Okay.
coming. I give
And
it a
then when
hand
I take them
observer.
off of that, and then one of the things I did was I was trying to take the bar out of the frame. Well, it was glued by the bees. I jostled them that way, just a little bit. They're still fragile. So now I go in there, I got my cup or my cage. I take the cup off that thing and put it right into the cage. And then I got the tray that Easy Peasy has for those cages. and I put them in that. And then I take that tray after I fill them all up, put them in the incubator, set them down like they're eggs or whatever you want to call them, and very gentle. Put them down like that. When I get ready to take them back out there and put them in the hive to let them hatch in the hive, I put them in that banking frame that I bought from him. And same thing. I don't let them sit in the seat. I hold them frames. Take them out there. I put it in the thing real super gentle like. And then this last batch was, I think it was a Saturday a week ago. Yes, it's been a week. They've been in there about a week now. They hatched out, and I think I was able to look at them late Saturday afternoon, and they all hatched. But I made sure every step of the way, Darren, you don't jostle those cells whatsoever. And
You
yeah,
gotta be really gentle with
when
them.
it comes to farming, sometimes the farming comes first this time of year. And then when it comes to sawmilling and stuff, I can kind of slip away from that occasionally. I will take off on certain times of the year, that I know that I've got to do it today. It's got to be done today, or the weather is going to suck for the next week. And it's like, if I got caged, let's say I bought queens or something like that, they're going into that hive if I got them that evening, first thing in the morning, I'm taking off. They're going in the hive. I get real nervous with bees. Like I don't like bees laying on my kitchen table, and because they can die on you right quick, and there's no
Yeah.
get your money back either.
I've been grafting for 5 years, and this spring was the first time I ever hit 100%. I was 22 for 22.
I did 100%. Well, I hadn't grafted for 3 years, so prior to that, I'll say 2019 is when I did it. When I went down to Knoxville, Kent Williams showed me how to graft, and I happened to have the cell builder naturally at the right amount of bees, and I think I hit 100% that one time. And
Yeah.
but back to what Darren was talking about, you'll have a percent that didn't cap. You'll have a percent of cells that didn't emerge. And then you'll have a percent. I put them in candy cages. I keep them in my bank them out there, let the bees feed them. I've had some, and I've noticed this. If bees detect that queen, that virgin, that bee inferior, they'll starve that queen to death. And they'll feed the rest of them that they like. And you'll lose a percent there. Not much. And then you put them in a mating box to get mated. And then there's a
100%.
percent of lossage there. So, it's a process, and everything.
And if you do it in the spring, your percentage is higher. You do it in the summer solstice, your percentage is lower.
Oh yeah. Yeah, from now and now, I'll probably I might graft a few more. I mean, depends on how many people. I got one guy that I just found an email instead of them calling me. Got to find out whether they want. I got about 15, 16, 18 queen. I think it's about 18 of them out there right now. And it's like, okay, I skipped a couple weeks because of weather and job. And I'm not really worried about that. My big thing is I'm re-queening everybody. I want everybody to be a 25 queen come here by July, and that kind of stuff. So that's my goal for right now. And then after that, I mean, I'll say probably by the middle of July or so, I'm done for the queen room aspect of it here.
Yeah, I might graft one more time.
I mean, it depends on the drone
real soon.
population because I put drone frames and everything. So there's a good population of that.
If it's helpful for anybody else that's doing builders and grafting right now, I know this morning I found out I lost my last builder here that I built at a double 5 frame, 2-story 5 frame.
Mhm.
And just due to the heat, they hatched at least 2 days early on me, and I didn't have them in cages. So I don't know, I probably had at least a dozen
Yeah,
virgins running around that hive.
I was
But
texting Bill down in Virginia, and he said that he had 4 or 5 virgins hatch out a day or two sooner.
I know that I had them hatching Monday, and Saturday I went down there and they were out and already half of them chewed, so she had enough time to run around and chew out however many virgins.
Well,
Um,
yeah, he didn't have anything caged, and he was lucky between him and I think it's JD. Um, they found those virgins walking around in that cell builder. I was like surprised.
mhm.
I said, "You can't find that in my cell builder." I mean, I don't know. He just must have been lucky.
Yeah,
And Darren,
yeah.
if you're going to go out to Nobby this year, I would wait till Nobby and go to Easy Peasy. You probably have that kind of stuff on sale, maybe, and all that. Might save a couple bucks. I have not shipped any virgins, Mark. I don't particularly care to do that. Uh, or I never tried it. I mean, I don't know. I did take your advice. I do put attendance in them just to make sure. And I definitely do that. Most of my customers are illiterate when it comes to knowing how to put virgin queens in a hive. I got to sit there and tell them what to do most of the time. So, all that. So anyway, that's where I'm at with mine. I need to extract honey whenever I get time, and the heat is not as bad. I like to get that done and get those boxes off the top and get everything put away. I'm I'm getting every year about this time. I'm getting to the point where I'm getting tired of
hmm
messing with the bees. And I got, like I say, my main goal right now is make sure everybody's queen right. Everybody's a 2025 queen. So hopefully, if I prove my point next year, as I say, beekeeping is an experiment that never quits, a science experiment that never quits. Two things. My queens were 2 years old this year, on the second honey season of this year. And
Nice.
last year I got 1,000 pounds of honey. Now it was an exceptional year, but they were all young girls. This year they're 2 year olds. And I seen I'm since last year's problems with queens, I have made observations, and it just kind of popped out at me. One, a lot of those hives, except for them big tall ones, they were mediocre honey producers. Two, I started noticing they weren't slabs of full frame brood pattern. They didn't have as many frames of brood. And she wasn't laying up fast enough when I would put open comb in there. And the worker bees, started to backfill some of that with nectar. Whereas last year, she's, at 100% rate, she's laying up everything with brood. They can't fill everything up with honey or pollen, and they would put everything upstairs in honey supers. And I've noticed that was this year. And then some of them were just slow. They just really never built up bee population. They did have a lot of, and then I also
Yeah,
noticed,
that's what we use.
that I started having queens dying on me within the last month or so. So I've come up with the conclusion. Listen to like Brad down there in Louisiana at the Cajun homestead. He's got to requeen every year. Why? His queens lay 13 or 12 months out of the year. And by the year and a half later, they're dead right in the middle of the honey season. So he requeens every fall. Of course, he doesn't really have a winter. And I'm doing the Demery method. And I feel this. I'm burning out my queens because I'm making them lay like no tomorrow the first year that they're a first-year-old queen, because
Yeah.
they're laying everything they could possibly lay, because I keep adding more open comb while I'm pulling out the capped brood that's 100% capped.
I never thought of that, Charlie. I never
They
thought
just keep,
Demery.
they keep I'm pounding, I'm pushing them full force the first year,
Full throttle.
full throttle.
Mhm.
And then come middle of my honey season, just like Brad down there in Louisiana, they're dying on me.
Yeah.
Or they're, you know, so I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this type of beekeeping, and I got to replace them every year in order to get a huge honey crop. And long as the weather holds out for me too, this year everybody has loss in honey sales or honey production because of all this rain. The rain for me in my area came at the wrong time when the main flow was on with either locusts and poplar trees. Now, Keith down there, Half Tracks, seemed like in his area, of course, he started
Perfect.
a little bit sooner because he's in South Carolina, I believe it is. But it seemed like the rain went around where he lives. As far as this, a lot of the weather pattern moved around him quite a bit, and he's, pulling a lot of honey in because of that. And I think last year a lot of folks in the Midwest had a lot of rain, and we really didn't have a lot of constant rain like we are having this year. So that's some of my theories, and hopefully my requeening will definitely improve for my honey production next year as far as the weather. Hopefully the weather will cooperate too. Now, something that I had a lady come in on a Maryland, the state of Maryland Bee Club had this gal out of Texas. And it was one of them. I was tired from the night before because of my Friday night chat. Number two, it was too much information at one time for me. And then I'm also a person that when I'm looking for a certain question to a certain topic, then I'm tuned in. If it's a general thing and I'm not at the time, I wasn't queen rearing at the time. And I wasn't trying to suck in as much information as possible. But anyway, I went to Man Lake. She talked the same talk up there. Brad up in Manitoba said, check this gal out. I said, well, that's the same girl that I'd seen the other time. And now I'm awake and paying attention. So I whip it on through to where she's talking about queens. And she said, after the first year, the queen drops 40% in laying power after the first year. That is huge. That's almost half of her laying production and all that. And I'm like, well, no wonder. Like Rick Sutton said, commercial guys got a couple thousand hives. Oh, yeah. First year queens make you more honey. Well, yeah, because they're laying 100% or at least 95. If they're only laying 40%, 50, 60%,
Yeah.
they're not keeping up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I like my 2-color system for queens, because then in the early, before the flow, I mark them a light color, and then after the flow, I mark them at summer solstice a darker flow because of that reason, Charlie. Because if I mark them all the same color blue, I'll have an extra flow on a queen come next spring. I won't know I have if I mark them all the same shade of blue this year.
Run that by me again. You're marking them in the spring. They're like 1 year
So
girl.
queens that go through the flow this year that went through, so queens that emerged or got mated in April, say, they are a light blue. Here comes Philip. They are a light blue, right? Because they're going to go through the flow. They're going through this flow.
All right, the first year flow.
Then right, so that's 1 year, right? A flow, well, whatever, like it's a flow. So, and then my summer solstice queens, the ones that are coming out now that are getting mated and starting to lay, or in the next
okay. I
week
got you what you're saying now.
are
Yeah.
dark blue. So come next spring, I know who went through a flow and who didn't. So then, I can tell a little better, like,
You
well,
can compare
you know,
with.
then I'm selling a nuke. Well, do you want a overwintered queen? Like, do you want a, you know, like, do you want to, you know, like you get a choice of what queen. Usually they don't care anyway. They want a fresh queen. But that's why I started with the two color system, so I
Yeah,
could
that's a good
determine
idea.
how many
But you know, so,
flows they've been.
I tell you, after learning all this about queens and how they all work, and as a queen rearer myself now, is that for 15 years you had all these here backyarders. I want an overwintered
Well, I
queen.
know, because that's what
I
they were
want a
taught.
proven queen. And I'm
Yep.
like, you're getting a
Yep.
wore out queen, in
Mhm.
my
Yes,
Yeah.
opinion.
yes, you want a fresh, right. So changing the language, or educating the new, and I think that's our responsibility as experienced beekeepers, is to educate the new people and to say, you know, well, maybe a fresh queen would be a little better than an overwintered queen because she could already have been through a flow, you know, or maybe not. Like, you know, so yes, educating. I think that's our responsibility as experienced beekeepers, is to make sure that we're giving them the best knowledge we have. We were told, you know, back what 8, 9, 10 years ago that overwintered queens, this and that up north here. Well, okay, but then we start thinking, well, maybe not. You know, maybe a fresh queen, maybe a summer solstice queen that went through the winter is better than a flow winter,
I see it
queen.
still today. I had a guy come in. He's a quote EAS master beekeeper, Mr. Paper certified. And I've been keeping for years, 50, 20, 30 years or whatever, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. What job did you do? Oh, I was some kind of he was a professor at Johns Hopkins. Okay. He wasn't a doctor. He was a PhD guy. And
One of those.
so what I was getting at is this. He's there telling all these people this, as I call it, typical 2-year-old beginner beekeeping stuff. How you do this and how you do that and how you winter and how you do all these different things. And if you got a problem with your queen, well, you can get a mated queen, or you can do some other different things. I forget what it was. I said, and I raised my hand. I said, look, Joe, or whatever the guy's name was. I said, you need to update that slide. What do you mean? I says, there's more than a mated queen out there that you can fix the problem. I said, I sell virgin queens. So you can buy a mated queen.
I like
you
it.
can buy a virgin queen, or you can find somebody who will give you hopefully a good queen cell. And I said, you need, you want to be the EAS guy that is supposed to do, they're basically for instruction. I said, well, then you need to tell these new beekeepers the whole story. And that's what irritates the hell out of me, is that every bee club in the state of Maryland, and every one I've ever been to, they're all in the same rut. They tell that same certain pattern of information, and that's as far as it ever grows. Next year, here comes a new crop of new beekeepers, and we're going to say the same thing over and over again. And what happened,
Charlie? That's why you started your chat all those years ago.
And then I've only been a few years, but then it's like, okay, what about us guys and gals that are 5 years into it, 10 years into it, 15 years into it? We're bored out of our minds, people.
Yes.
It's we want, it's like the last Maryland State meeting. They had some lady in there. She went down to Central Maryland, South Africa, or South America, I believe it was. Some of them open air beehives that they show in the jungles and stuff. And I'm like, now just what am I supposed to do with that information when I go back to my beehives at my house? Nothing. It's totally waste. And it's like, well, while you guys are in Maryland, I drove 3 hours to Bill's place. And in a day, I learned how to set up a cell builder properly with the right amount of bees, came home, applied that information along with talking to Ryan Peabody from Peabody's Apiary in Southern Maryland. And I said, what do you use? Well, I use a 5-frame nuke. I said, well, that's what I use. I only going to use 2 mediums instead of 1 deep. And I said, set it up with cat brood in there, get it all, I had a hive that was queenless. So I threw the cat brood in there, made sure they didn't make any of their own cells. They were real happy because they had brood pheromone smells. And then here I'm off to the races where I've sold, I don't know, probably about, I think 20 or more. I don't know. I think it was maybe even more than that.
Hey, Philip.
I don't know.
Charlie, I can give you a little information about queens, a little history.
Yeah.
I talked to my good friend George, who's a third generation beekeeper, and he basically told me, he goes, queens today are crap in
Well,
the
I agree with
industry.
you. I mean,
That's all we got.
Well, let me finish.
Mhm.
He said his grandfather, they could get 3 good years out of a queen. And then he said, then at the end of his tender, it got down to 2 years. Since he's a year older than me, he goes, since I've been beekeeping, it's gotten down to 1 year. He goes, now some of these queens are only good for one flow.
I mean,
That's
it could
how
be
bad. That's how bad our queens have gotten over the last
Well, it's mites
50,
too.
50
Look at
100
look at
years.
the yeah, but they have a lot of pressure. They have pest pressure that they didn't
I
have
think
Well,
before. So
I've
we
seen
have
something
commercial we have
happen.
commercial queen breeders now than they didn't have 100 years ago, and they put out thousands and thousands of queens that are improperly mated.
Yeah,
Then
I
you
yeah.
got
think
into the
Like
varroa and you were told to freeze your drone breed, and you didn't have drones.
it's like
So
Nancy said. I
it,
mean, you go back back prior to 1980, let's say. You put bees in a box, you walked away. And they
yeah,
stayed there for years and years and years and years. They might have swarmed, but they always recreated their own queen and it just kept on going. And you went out there once a year, you kept putting supers on, they made you a pile of honey, and you were done. Today, we're in them suckers at least twice a month, and we're scrutinize them all the time because of either pest problems, viral loads,
or
uh,
laying.
you know, whether or not they're queenless, whether they got crappy queens, whether the queens are dead, and it goes on and on and on and on. And you didn't have that problem, before prior to the viral loads and the mites and stuff like that. It's just like if you look back in time, like my parents, when they first started out, they raised a garden. Well, my mother got sick because she didn't, back then you didn't wash anything. It wasn't necessary. They got some corn from somebody. Well, they used a pesticide on her at the time, which was new. And they didn't wash the corn and she got chemically sick. And it took her a long time to get over all that, from what I understand. And prior to that, like my grandparents, there was no pest in the garden, from what I gather. They didn't spray anything because you didn't have to. And look at what we got today. If we want to raise any kind of crop, don't matter what it's vegetables, hay crop. We had a hay crop years, I don't know, 15 years ago. It was Timothy hay. And it was something was wrong with it. And that we said something to the seed company up at, the local mill. He said, does it have like a purplish look to it on the head? I says, yeah. He said, well, there's a hay mite out there that's killing your hay. You had to spray it. Other than that, it used to be you had grass, you had your field of hay and you cutted it, and that was just the end of it. And it regrew and you fertilized it and limed it and you're done. But that's the way our world is right now. It's just full of pests and all. So anyway. Well, guys,
look,
it's 10 o'clock and I'm hot and I think I'm going to bed.
Well,
well,
I
I want to
think
see
we're
what
done
Philip has to
too.
say. He came on.
Hey,
Hey,
Nancy, it's
Philip
three
came on.
hours.
Yep, 2 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. Bam, it's 3.
It was a
Now it's
All right.
3.
marathon.
turn your
Philip
thing
didn't
on,
even get to
Philip.
say
You're
anything.
muted.
But Philip came on, and I want to know what he has, what he's thinking.
I don't know. He's got to turn his microphone on. Can't hear you,
Yeah,
Turn
Phil.
your mic
he's
on,
not
Phil.
thinking
Oh,
anything.
here, I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it.
I got it.
Oh, I
Now he
can't.
might be.
Right,
Not
you
doing
He's
it.
muted
still
me.
not
Stop.
thinking.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I came on to show your viewers something that might be helpful, but Charlie's got me too depressed to do anything.
What you got,
Charlie's
Philip?
got me ready to just go. I'm just going to go kick over my beehive and go to bed. All right, it took out a second. Now let me show you what I came on for. I got to turn my camera around. See if I can do this. Let's see.
Yeah, still something ugly on there.
Yeah. Let's see.
Hold on.
Setting.
Let's,
Camera.
oh, it's too funny.
Let's see.
Okay.
We good?
All right. That's a
Yeah,
kitchen.
see? Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
So
Yeah.
is that a beehive kitchen?
this is sort of actually, yeah, there's probably some that's some 33 mile. I think there's some Sawmill Charlie honey over here somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Somewhere in here it is. There it is. Look at that.
Yeah.
There you go.
I just opened it the other day. Oh, hold on a second. There's one of them I've been eating a lot of. Let's see if I can find it. How about that one right there?
That's that some of that what is that?
It's that berry honey from
Oh, okay.
the dirty
Oh,
side.
that's Matt's honey. That's
The
the
dirty-
blueberry honey.
The dirty
I
Yeah.
thought
side
that
boy.
looked familiar.
It's a blackberry.
I'm using that,
Yeah.
so I've got a bunch of that eaten already. Okay, anyway, back to what I was going to say. So a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, I started doing something where I take my wax cappings, which this year I have hardly any because I've only harvested like less than 200 pounds. And most of my frames weren't fully capped. But anyway, I basically filled up this coffee can with wax cappings, wet wax cappings. They drip for like 2 days, but
Mhm.
and so I want to show you guys what I got out of. And what I do is I put this in a double boiler, just another pan with water, and I heat it up real slow and melt the wax. It flows to the top and solidifies. And then there's honey, which I call baker's honey. I don't sell it, but you can use it for meat or whatever, cooking sauces, whatever. But I want to show you guys how much honey you get out of just standard wax cappings that have already been drained off. So I got my scale here. Okay, this is the wax that came off right here.
Uh-huh.
That's the block. Oh, let me tear my scale here with this plate on it.
Good night, Charlie. Oh, he's already gone.
All right. So what's that say? 1 pound, 2 ounces of wax.
Too.
So it's got a little bit of honey on it. It's wet, and I'll have to scrape a little off. So just say I got a pound of wax out of it, and now this is the honey that came. That was
Oh,
in it.
wow.
See how much? It's surprising how much honey is in those cappings. So I've got a small. I don't have the same size, but I'm just going to use this bucket to tear with. It's a little
Yeah.
bit smaller, but close. So let's put that
I usually
on.
let my bees clean that up. My bees end up taking all that back down to the hive out of my cappings.
So
I let them clean it all and they just make it a white fluffy
Yeah.
wax.
see the amount of honey.
Yeah, almost half and half.
Yeah, almost twice as much. That's 1 pound, 14 ounces. Even if you
Okay,
give
I
that,
gotcha.
even if you give an ounce back and the honey looks really good and clear. It's not.
I'd eat that.
This
I'd
is
keep
not.
that for
This is
myself.
not much darker. This is not much darker than what came out. So anyway, I thought that'd be kind of interesting. What you do is put it on there. Make sure you just keep your heat real low. I put it on this morning, and I got tired after about an hour waiting for it to melt completely. So I turned it up and brought the water to a real slow boil because I needed to go to work. But I think if you had patience and could leave it for 2 or 3 hours, you could literally separate the honey out without really overheating it. Bring it up to like,
Mm.
when I say overheating, you're going to have to get it to about 140 for the wax to melt. But,
Well,
you don't have to cook the honey is what I'm saying. And you wouldn't want to sell
I'm
that as
with
raw honey,
Nancy.
but
I let my cappings drain out of my cappings tank for days. And then after that, I'll take it out and roll it out in the yard, and the bees will clean out the rest of it.
well, this was harvested end of last week, so it did drain for 3 or 4 days. And you still get that much honey. It didn't go straight from the pot into here. I let it drain for a while. So
Well, I let the bees get the rest of it.
yeah, well, I don't have enough honey to do that.
Yeah.
I don't have that luxury this year. So.
Yeah, I have a whole
I
tank full.
invested in a solar
cappings.
wax melter from Better Bee a couple years back, and it was a lot of money. It's almost $300, but I got it, and I was able to sell the wax. Now it's paid itself off because I'm able to render that wax real pretty for crafters and people that do lotions and things. And Philip, I know that you do lotions and balms and things like that. I don't do any of that, but so the wax melter is real nice, and it'll clean that wax. But like I said, I drain it, and then I also let my bees take it back to the hives, the honey
Hey,
out of the cappings.
Another thing, though, that when you give it to the
yeah.
bees, they make a big mess of those cappings. They'll scatter those things all over the place. You'll lose.
Well, I leave
You'll
them in
lose.
the I
Hey,
leave them
I
in the
said,
I leave them
You'll
in the
lose 10 to
bag. I leave them
20%.
in the
Oh,
what's it called, the strainer bag. I leave them in the strainer bag.
How do they get to it then?
They'll clean that up real good, and then what you do is you just fluff it, you just shake it, and then it'll settle, and then they'll spend another day on it, and it just becomes a
yeah.
flaky, and then I pour it into my wax melter.
And you can put it in a 5-gallon bucket. And they'll drill down into that wax an inch or two to get to that honey.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah, because it's in dearth. Usually we're going into dearth when you want to be good and dry when you put that stuff out, because then they'll just take every last drop of it. But I was mentioning that earlier. All my equipment, everything I use goes out, and the bees clean everything spotless.
hey guys, I'm gonna hop off here and get cleaned up from the day, but
Yep. I'm
appreciate
going to shut her
appreciate you.
down. It's 3 hours, and I know you guys are an hour behind, and we get on for an hour before you guys get on, but it's getting late. So, oh, Gary, hey, there's Stu. I've been meaning to
Yeah,
ask where you've been. I haven't seen you in a while. Glad to see that you're up and your fingers work.
yeah.
Good,
Hey,
good.
Am I
Gary.
the only one that's being shown on here? Because I'm the only one I can see.
Hey,
I'm
Yeah,
about. I'm.
right
I'm
now.
done.
this is
I'm
the
done,
king
Nancy.
cam.
You were just show and telling, Philip. That's all.
But,
I got a lot of
I
buttons
mean,
I'm pushing.
I'm sorry y'all weren't impressed, but I just want everybody out there to know that if you weigh your wax cappings while they're
Yes,
wet, about
Yep.
60% of that is honey. If you want to try to recover that, you can.
Oh,
yes.
yep.
Well, maybe I should do more of that. I was doing it lazy way. But yes, we always learn something from you, Philip.
All right.
So we're gonna shut down. I try to always give a shout out to what's coming up. We have Horizontal Hives Ricky Rourke tomorrow night, and I think there's a new guy. I always try to remember him. Barker's Bees, I think, has
Mhm.
a live now. Friday night, of course,
Yeah.
Charlie. Saturday night, Joey Roll. Sunday night is Hannah and Tim.
Tim,
Tim and
hmm
Hannah.
Yeah.
gun line.
Monday night Gunline. Thank you. Monday night is Bees All Day with Bill. Tuesday is Tom. Wednesday again is me. So that's the lineup. That's how it goes. We're on every night talking bee smack. All
Can't get
right, kids.
enough.
Have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Happy
All right. Good night,
See
everybody.
ya.
night. I'm going tonight too.